Hello, and welcome to our 6 p.m. Tuesday special meeting. We're going to kick things off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Madam Clerk has graciously agreed to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We're joined here by Director Blaze. Please kick us off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councilors.
Sorry, one second. Madam Clerk, agenda item number 1.
Yes, sir. Item number 1, to postpone indefinitely the order authorizing the financial guarantee agreement with Milltown Sports and Entertainment LLC for the acquisition of the Colisée. Requested action to postpone indefinitely the order authorizing a financial guarantee agreement with Milltown Sports and Entertainment LLC for the acquisition of the Colisée.
I have a motion, please.
So moved.
Councilor Chittum,
Second.
second by Councilor Najin. Discussion among the council. Public comment. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilor from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2? Yes. Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
No.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 to 1.
Item number 2.
Item number 2, order approving a $250,000 loan for Milltown Sports and Entertainment. Requested action to adopt the order approving a $250,000 loan for Milltown Sports and Entertainment LLC.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum.
Second.
Second by Councilor Najin. Now, Director Blaze, please kick us off. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council. As you know, we did go back to the, the lending authority, the current owner, and I think we bridged what we see as really a better deal for the city in terms of risk and investment. And I'm going to go down through the background a little bit here again, just to reacquaint everybody. Milltown Sports and Entertainment is advancing a plan to acquire and continue to operate the Colisée as a regional hub for sports, entertainment, community programming. The proposed ownership and operating structure is supported by a combination of private financing and limited public investment designed to mitigate municipal risk while enabling the continuation and growth of this key community asset. In addition to its economic role, this acquisition will secure critical existing community uses to include ongoing parking for Lewiston Public Schools for the surrounding fields, continued access for local high school hockey programs, a required parking for the Tree Street Development Project that has secured some CDS funding, and preserve the flexibility for additional future community and civic uses. This puts the city in the seat to have these accessories of the building itself with the $250,000 loan. The financial structure, the proposed transaction includes T&M Investment Loans, will provide a loan of $2.65 million to Milltown Sports and Entertainment. As part of the financing, T&M Investments has agreed to waive the requirement for a formal appraisal reflecting the confidence in the project and the underlying asset. The BOV that we generated for this last meeting for this group really was the catalyst to that discussion. So they're willing to do that. The seller financing, Dr. Daryl Antiochi, will carry the $2 million note as part of the purchase. This note will be secured by the property owner and will not require any city guarantee, thereby limiting municipal exposure. So the whole backing up the note or co-signing the note, any of that is gone away. And they went from 1.4 million now to 2 million. So the City of Lewiston's loan participation includes a $250,000 loan to the project, structured as follows: 14 years, a 0% interest rate, and we have the funding source through the Economic Reserve Account. This participation, again, is intended to serve as a gap financing tool to support project feasibility while maintaining a conservative risk profile for the city and continued community use and relationship building. City staff understands the financial concerns, but recommend approval for the following reasons. Staff and council were aware that the request should be considered effectively unsecured loan, second to Milltown's personal property security agreement, which is in the packet. The Milltown Sports and Entertainment Group has demonstrated success in its Boston location. While this request is for effectively a separate enterprise, the group's collective institutional knowledge, talent, and profitable experience to date are notable. Their presence and investment in the city this last year also needs to be recognized. The Colisée is an iconic structure, and the value should be preserved while continuing to deteriorate with time without service and use and investment, an injection of capital, and the reuse of already brought $3.9 million in investment over the last few years, which has favorably benefited the use of the rink. If the two choices are to be given to this group, give the group a chance versus let the building continue to decline, staff would recommend giving the group a chance. 3, securing, again, this sounds very repetitive, but community uses, hockey, parking, concerts, intrinsic value, the value add, people spending money in the city. These are all important pieces. The current broker opinion of value plus personal property puts the total value at $4.85 million. The current building has good value, and we don't want to lose that. We just don't want to lose that value. The LQC committee, after consideration, the LQC meaning the Loan Qualification Committee, after consideration voted in favor of the loan with the condition that the utility bills are up to date with the city, which has been checked, and the property information verification form was provided in your packet. Staff did a return on investment analysis, including 2 scenarios that bring payback to between 4 and 7 years, which really is closer to 6 years using the more conservative approach, utilizing the combination of the loan payments for Milltown Sports and tax payments in the calculation, with the assumed assessed value remaining stable with active use and value. Again, the requested action: consider the staff presentation, the information included in your packet when making your decision on the loan application for $250,000 with a term of 14 years at 0% interest rate, funded through monies through the Economic Reserve account. I'm more than willing to answer any questions. Thank you.
Yes, questions, comments from councilors. Councilor Najin.
In the right to accelerate, number 4 listed inspections, and so we can ask that the loan be paid immediately upon inspections. Could you just speak to that for a second? I don't really understand it's in the terms of under the statement of terms and conditions, page 1. So it's under 3A and B. Between right to accelerate and use of funds.
So in the,
I apologize. It's my mistake. I was assuming that right to accelerate, part of that was inspections. It's just stating that you'll do inspections.
okay,
The collateral on this loan is
the personal property inside the building.
personal property inside the building, which is currently assessed at.
Currently, right now, it's $680,000 according to the assessors. We devalued it at $500,000.
And would we be the primary lien holder on the
We're the
property
second.
inside?
We're the second on it.
Who is the first?
It'd be the current owner.
I have a few more questions, but I'll with other people.
Can you just ask them now?
Yeah, so the loan qualification committee, how many members are there?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members.
Okay, and was it a unanimous support?
No, it was not.
What was the vote?
The vote was 3 versus 1.
3 versus 1 and 1 abstention?
Yeah, 1 excused.
Okay.
Again, that information's in your packet.
Councilor Harriman.
Thank you, and thanks for presenting. So I'm also a member of the Loan Qualification Committee. I wasn't able to make it to the meeting, but I emailed the group and said that I would have also voted no on it. I did have some questions on, so this is under the operations agreement, and you had mentioned that our security is the personal property. In the operations agreement, section H, security, it says loans will require an acceptable security instrument such as a mortgage. And I wonder if there is, how come we're not getting a mortgage or anything more, like a little more substantial than
The
personal property?
The owners, they're not willing to do it. We'd be third in line to do that. So this was our only option to have any other teeth versus to go fully unsecured loan. So I thought this was, I think, our best step forward with this particular situation.
And so on that, in that operations agreement where it says loans will require an acceptable security instrument such as a mortgage, is this?
This is acceptable. Yep.
Okay. I had some other questions about the operations agreement. So in part K, it says that the repayment will begin upon completion of the construction phase or 6 months after the closing date, whichever comes first.
There's no construction.
So that's not.
No, that doesn't apply. I think that has to be a further edit that has to continue before the closing occurs.
So when does repayment begin?
Repayment begins after the first month.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of month 1. Yep.
So has our legal counsel reviewed these?
They have reviewed it. There's still some suggestions about signature, the city administrator being the signature. I think you just pointed out another one. I think there has to be some additional combing of the documents, but they have had review.
So they have had review, but they need more review?
I believe so, yep. I think we're going to read through it one more time and make sure that everything's good. We always do that before closings. There's always final edits at the end. This is pretty typical for closing documents that the city administers.
Okay, that's all I've got for now.
Further questions? Councilor Chittum, yes.
Thank you. Collector LaBelle has indicated there's a nearly $9,400 overdue payment on sewer and water. Did I hear you say that that's been taken care of as of today?
So, Councilor Chittum, you have the same question I did. So I'm happy that you're asking that one, because I tend to get excited about things like this when I receive them. My staff gives them to me, but so the balance owed, they have a payment agreement established. So there's the no at $9,300, but then they have a payment agreement established, which we acknowledged that in the last meeting, and then that means that they're still considered in good standing. So yes, the answer is yes, they still owe $9,300, but the answer is they've been in good standing with their payment agreement, so they have been paying their payments.
Okay, so there's another tweak that needs to be made to these various documents when it goes through legal, because there is a very clear statement somewhere in the 5 documents that we've reviewed that no loan shall be issued until all utilities and taxes and fees have been paid. So that needs to be fixed in the legalese when it goes through the second review.
Okay.
Could I ask you, Director Blaze, to go through the ROI, the rate of return, rate of on investment, return on investment, and explain how that works? Essentially, we're loaning $250,000, and it's going to be paid off, and there are going to be benefits due to taxes. Is there the addition of personal and/or real property to the current value, aside from the revaluation? Will the asset be improved as a result of this loan?
So I think the asset valuation would remain the same, so the anticipated value, according to assessing now, it would be $4.1 million, which is considerable. And that number was included as the proposed, value. And the current appraised value, assessed value rather, is the 1.792. So we can assume that number is gonna, as long as we have use and the building's not being buttoned up and is not, turning into mold, we're gonna at least maintain that amount. So in this summary, I would say that this is the salesman's version. This is me being optimistic, and I'll be quite honest. So what that means is that we really looked at straight across the board, what is the value now using the $19 mill rate that's being suggested, the 19.68 across the board, and did a difference in delta. So if that value came down, or that's value gained rather, and that's value sustained while we keep it in there, we're all keeping the same picture. That's $46,000 that we get every year in tax payment. And then plus the payment, the principal paid of $17,858, within 4 years, again, the return on investment is paid through taxes, through the payment of taxes, and the payment of the loan payments that they make each month.
Okay, I'm not certain that loan payments are actually counted as return on an investment, and I do have a concern about using the proposed assessed value of $4.1 million and calling that a benefit of the loan when the current valuation is 1.79.
Yep.
The only difference is, if I'm hearing you correctly, Director, the only difference is the revaluation of the property. There has been no real value added to the building or the personal property. Is
No.
that, okay.
That's
all right.
correct. We're maintaining the value.
Okay.
But so then, in that regard, we took a very conservative approach, and in my language to the council, we took the valuation today, and that's really the difference. And I think I explained this to you in an email, but there's only $22,000 left on the table there at that point if you take a very conservative approach. And that brings the return on investment. And again, I would think of it as an investment because we're getting value back to the community. I don't know how we can't see that as an investment in value. I mean, there's just so many tangible values. I could write a book about it, but 22,000. So the return at that point is less than 7 years. So I put my old government hat on, working for the feds and for the military. Anything under 7 years was a good investment in terms of purchasing for military construction dollars. This is a benchmark that I could give to you, that I could do mathematically to show you that this is worth the city's time and the city's effort, and that's just my best effort.
I appreciate that. I think you and I agree that this is a salesman's version. We can certainly agree on that, and I don't question at all the intangible assets and the value that this project will bring to the city. I think my beef is trying to quantify that with numbers. So I will accept this is the salesman's version. I will accept that there are benefits that are intangible and perhaps immeasurable to the city, and we'll just leave it at that.
Further comments? Councillor Martel, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for your presentation throughout this. You've been great to communicate with, and I think you're doing a great job conveying the information that's in front of you. So thank you. The deeper we go into this project, the more questions I have and the more concerned I get. So I'm looking at this as an entirely unsecured $250,000 loan, because we're talking about depreciating equipment that has to, say it gets defaulted and we go to collect 500 or 600K worth of assets, you said. So resold what, maybe 250 on the used market, and we're second in line for that. It's not compelling collateral in my eyes. I also share Councillor Chittum's feelings about returned taxes being used as payment, or looked at as a return on investment. I feel like a lot of that is they're gonna be there anyway. We're using successful past business ventures as credibility to loan this money, and it just seems like at every point along the way, this project has been at risk of falling apart if the city didn't step in and do something. And at first it was 1.4, and now is this 250,000 critical to the program? Is this whole thing coming crashing down still if he doesn't get this 250 grand?
I don't know if I can answer that question correctly. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that answer. I think that again, I think the most important piece is that this gives us a seat. You know, if they go 100% private, this gives us a seat again to the use of the parking lot for public school programs. This gives us a seat to have local hockey programming at this location. It helps an additional local project in their parking. And then any of the other community uses and civic uses that are down the road. I think that those are the biggest pieces. I think that there may be repercussions if we back out and the Colisée continues on their own and they find their own financing. We may be at a loss for some of the community uses that are currently going on there. I do want to be clear on that and on the record of that.
So is that what you expect him to do if he has to get this financing somewhere else?
Again, I can't speak for him. I'm not going to speak for, Nate Bostic or Milltown Sports. But I can tell you that I've heard it.
Interesting. Why is it he isn't here to answer these questions?
He's out raising monies for his program. He's recruiting kids. He's on the road. So this is the time of the year that he recruits players and connects with families to, really bring up the academy and get kids to come here.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for now. I have some comments, but I'll hold them at the moment. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.
To Director Blaze's point, yes, if the city had no involvement whatsoever, I don't know why they would let us use their parking lot for free. That makes zero sense for them. Further questions, comments from councillors before we go to public comment? Councillor Harriman.
Thank you. Has there been any underwriting or other analysis of this loan?
Yes, there has. That was done by my previous predecessor. That wasn't shared with me. I did touch base with them, CCI. They didn't provide anything in writing. But I think it was going to come out to be a negative. I'll be honest with you, it was going to come out to be a negative recommendation. I can say that other projects have had negative recommendations from the Loan Qualification Committee, negative recommendation from the underwriting, and others, and the council still voted in favor. So That being said, there wasn't really any information to share, so, and that's, that's that. I haven't received anything officially in writing, so.
Okay. And then just a couple more questions about the documents. So in the loan agreement, section 9, record keeping, it says they have to maintain records for a period of 7 years following the loan closing, but it's a 14-year loan. So shouldn't that be at least 14, if not
So
longer?
yeah, I think that's an IRS statement, so 7 years for those statements, that's what they need to keep for IRS stuff. So it has to be the last 7 years of each of those statements, so.
Okay.
At year 8, you can get rid of year 1. At year 9, you get rid of year 2.
Okay. And then in the job creation agreement, there are 2 attachments, attachment A and attachment B. In attachment B, it says this employer has received funding from the City of Lewiston's Commercial Rehabilitation Loan Program. The funding for this program comes from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. But I thought that this loan was, I thought this program was funded through the TIF revenue.
Yeah, and that, again, that has to be edited. That's not correct.
Okay.
We held on to those documents because we wanted to hold something tangible to Milltown Sports in terms of creating jobs. I mean, I could have highlighted that in the presentation, but that's something that's going to be in the loan. That's something we're going to follow up on. It does create some local jobs, some permanent jobs. So that is something that we inserted in there. So we will clean that up.
Okay. My concern is just that this hasn't been reviewed.
Again, it's had legal review. And it has to be thoroughly reviewed again. I understand, Councilor Harriman, that there has to be some fixes here, but I've learned from my experiences, we have a timeline. We've got to submit what we can submit. It had 1 review. We've been correcting these since then. We're not going to share that with council. If the council says, go ahead and move forward with this, we're going to have corrected documents. We're not going to be referencing CDBG documents. That's the baseline language that form is. That's a CDBG form, and we're converting it, again, to have a little bit more teeth and more say in the $250,000 note. I'll agree with you. I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you on that, but the truth is we're looking for any way for the city to be a part of it, to have a say, to have that involvement, and make sure that they follow up on that. So we're trying to get something back to the city.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just concerned that, it keeps coming to a vote for the council and then it's not.
I'm
Doesn't
not
seem
aware.
finished.
I'm not aware of all finalized legal documents being prepared prior to a council meeting, ever. I'm supplying more information than any other director in my seat has ever presented. I've went back and looked, and there's none of this information has ever been given to the council to review. This is, in addition, I just wanted to try to be as upfront, and so you could have a real baseline understanding of what we're making them go through. And again, it's informative. I'd be happy to share the final signed documents with council. We could certainly do that.
Thank you, Director.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further, Councilor Herman?
That's it. Thanks.
We're now having public comment for this agenda item. Should there be any public comment? And now we're back to us. I'll just say a few words here. Yes, I understand, Director, what you're saying, and it makes sense. This is going to, once we finally get, what I'm hopeful is an affirmative vote for this, it will head to legal to button up. The concerns that have been raised in terms of the legal documents, are beyond our pay grade, and I'm sure the council will, our corporation council will be able to get everything in order. Yeah, and I understand that there's a risk to this loan. But I understand your point completely. That gives us access to the building, and then, I am concerned that the Colisée doesn't move forward at all without this. And I realize Nate's not here Mr. Bostic is not here to speak to that. Can you explain, is this money being used, what is this 250,000 being used for? Can you speak to that for a second?
This is the down payment, essentially. This is part of the closing, would be part of the closing note.
Okay, so this, having heard that, it is very unlikely that this deal is moving forward without this.
Again, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I did want the city to be part of this, again, for the community benefit piece. And
Understood.
I don't know for sure. I think that could shift with T&M Investments in play. Their pockets are deep. They have a lot of private equity. They could certainly raise $250,000 without blinking an eye. But I don't want to assume anything. And I do want to understand the position. I think that the city has. We lose a lot of partnership. We lose a lot of opportunity. We're economic and community development. This is really the community side. This is a community investment. I can't say that enough. Our community dollars are going down and down, CDBG, home funds. I'm going to go off tangent, but,
Only for a second, please.
but yeah, I'll end it at that.
Okay. No, I just, to the council, I urge it, I understand that there's risk to this, but I think there's a greater risk if this deal does not go forward and the Colisée does not continue to exist as we've come to expect it. Councilor Longchamps, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Thank you for presenting again. I think that it was very smart of them to continue with financing, and I think it's great that they were able to pull together. Do I think that they could probably figure this out to the $250,000 ask? Most likely. But I do think, just as you've shared, Director, that the city having some involvement is important for many reasons. So I do thank you for that. And it is unfortunate. I feel like this is the first loan that the city's ever done without all of this back and forth. So I am definitely in support of it. I'm glad that they were able to come up with the financing. If it were me having to deal with all of this, he's a humble man, because I wouldn't even ask the city for this. But I am in favor of it. Thank you.
Councilor Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for bringing this forward again, doing all the hard work that you've done. I, too, am in favor of supporting this, only because I think, the Colisée has been there for many, many years. There's been a lot of kids that have been through there. And again, we need more stuff in the city for kids, youth development, everything like that. I do believe the players will give back to the city in great ways. I also think that leaving the door open for the city to use all of these, everything that's in the building and all that stuff, I think that's really, really important. And I think, the city on a whole should be proud to be able to come together and do that. And again, what happens if, let's say this is a make or break, $250,000, we don't give it to them, and then that building goes into shambles? We're still taking care of this, right? So I think, for $250,000, yes, it's a large amount of money, I don't have $250,000, but I think it's worth the risk on this because of what we can get out of it. So I'd be voting in support of this.
Councillor Najin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Interim Director, I have a couple of points I just want to bring forward. And the way that this process is kind of unfolded is kind of felt like, and I've made jokes about this, like it's like Shark Tank, right? Like you're putting something in front of us, we're all hemming and hawing over it, and then going back and asking for more information. Ultimately, if it was my money, I would want to be in a position where I felt that the financial guarantee was there. And because I've been elected in order to represent the city with the city's money, I also want to see that. I understand the arguments that you're putting forward. There is value here. But at the same time, understanding that $250,000 when it takes $2,600 a day to keep the Colisée open, if this isn't operating capital, which would only keep the place open for 100 days. If this is part of the purchase agreement, that makes me wonder if they're immediately going to run in the same situation with no operating capital. And so that's a challenge to me. I would say this. You've recommended it. Our administrator has recommended it. I am not an expert, obviously. So over my misgivings, I would support this based on the fact that you and the administrator have both recommended it. But if it fails, then I'm also going to be upset that it does.
And rightly so.
Further comments from council? Councillor Chittum, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Director Blaze. If this were a straightforward blinders on financial decision, I would be forced to vote against it. I don't believe the security is there, looking at the numbers. However, when you couch this in terms of maintaining the city's relationship with the Colisée, with the potential benefits, if the swing in the prayer actually holds out, I think that here, for once in my career on this days, I have to take my facts and figures and set them aside. Purely financially, it's not a good deal for the city. However, when you take the intangibles and factor those in, I'm going to be voting in favor of proffering this loan to Milltown Sports.
Councillor Harriman.
Thank you. I just wanted to add very quickly that I want to see this project happen overall, but there are just too many unanswered questions for me to go ahead at this time.
Councillor Najin, did you have a final thought?
I did. I assume that due diligence was done somewhere along the line in order to verify the financial standing of Milltown Sports and also of the principals that are putting forward the proposal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just, my final thought is going to be, it's very clear that Milltown Sports, needs the city in some capacity, right? Otherwise, they would just do it, we wouldn't be having these agenda items. And the city does not have the capacity to run the Colisée by itself at this point. And so I really, this agenda item represents the start of a partnership between both the city and Milltown Sports, and it will take both of us to make sure that the Colisée is a success. Any other final thoughts? Councillor Najin, yes.
I would just want to correct the record. The current owner is in a financial position to keep the building in good shape, even if he's paying taxes on it. And so it's not a question of whether or not the building decomposes at the location. It's a question of the use. The current owner has not left the building in disarray. And so I just want to point that out as we're talking about this.
Are we all set to vote, councillors? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
No.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Ward 7.
No.
Motion passed by a vote of 5 to 2.
Thank you, Director Blight. We are now, that concludes our special meeting. And now we are moving to our budget workshop. And Director, we're going to give Director Roy a second to come to the front here. Director Blay, we will continue this conversation later. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I got a few extra. Yeah.
Director Roy, I see you're joined by our Airport Director, the Honorable Jonathan Labonte. Please kick us off.
So the airport is on our page 68, and it's remaining flat at $205,000 for the city's contribution. So I will let the director of the airport go through some points on the airport budget.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. If you'd give me a moment for a quick tangent, I do have the great fortune to coach some kindergarten and first grade basketball at our local YMCA, and we play those games at the Armory. And I want to commend the council, administration, the rec staff, the custodial staff. That facility is in great shape and is a phenomenal venue for youth sports. So thank you guys for what you do there. There's a memo I think Director Roy might have circulated yesterday. I brought you some hard copies. I think that it would be valuable, especially for those who may not have been able to make our workshop that we hosted in January, to highlight some other elements that kind of drive the current state of the airport. And I'll work through some of those highlights, and then I'm happy to field questions. And of course, I'm always happy to host group or individual tours and discussions if it would be helpful for councilors to see the asset up front. Director Roy did mention we're not, the airport is not asking for any additional local operating funding. We did submit our capital program, our 5-year capital program in November. I think it's important in any discussion about the airport to understand the significant evolution that has been occurring there going back 3 years now. When there was a significant turnover that began in both the management and the staffing at the airport. What was inherited was significant deferred maintenance across critical infrastructure that included fencing for wildlife exclusion, management of obstructions to the approach surfaces of all 4 runways, and the maintenance of airport buildings and capital equipment. There were significant FAA compliance risks. In fact, the FAA came in 2022 and did an audit of the airport against the federal requirements that the 2 cities need to meet, and found some significant violations of those grant agreements that we spent a couple of years and have now closed out. There was a much smaller aviation ecosystem. There was only 1 aircraft maintenance business, and there were no flight schools at the time. Significant financial exposure associated with hangar number 5. That was the hangar built for Lufthansa. Elite Airways was not making payments, had not for months. So we needed to navigate their eviction and then tackling the deferred maintenance on that building and then shifting all of its utilities to the airport. At that time, there were 39 aircraft based at the airport. So since that time, we have resolved the FAA compliance matters. They closed out their land use inspection. We do have a couple of items that we are still working through. Based aircraft is now just short of 110 aircraft. So we've nearly tripled the number of based aircraft over that time. After Sanford, that makes us the busiest airport in the state for general aviation traffic, and 12th in New England at this point. Some items that I want to, let's see. Here we go. We've spent a lot of time reasserting our role as a reliever to the Portland Jetport. There was a lot of discussion in previous years of trying to secure commercial scheduled service, that this airport is not positioned for that. Portland still has capacity to add additional trips with the commercial providers there. But our role as a reliever means that the charter private jet traffic, for example, especially in the summer, we're positioned to be able to host that traffic. So business people, tourists that are flying in on private aircraft, we're positioned in the national airspace system to take that traffic on. In fact, we have more of that traffic than Augusta or Brunswick airports. We have just finished a new master plan. If you folks have not seen that, I can make sure I circulate a link so you can see really in detail the analysis that went into the state of the airport and setting a direction for the future. There was significant reduction in headcount. The airport had 13 employees back in 2023. There are currently 2 direct airport employees. And then other management and aviation service activities are managed through contracts. So we're not having to hold year-round headcount. So we're not holding a headcount in the winter when things are slow, just so we can make sure during peak season in the summer we're fully staffed. And that certainly made a difference. There are 3 maintenance businesses now based at the airport and 2 flight schools. So more based aircraft, they want services. Flight schools are creating new pilots who buy aircraft, and they're choosing to base here. We actually have more aircraft based here at Lewiston than Augusta, Brunswick, and the Oxford County Airport combined. So we've really worked aggressively to reposition ourselves. Hangar 5 is still a
Can you
challenge.
just move the mic a little closer to you, please? Thank you.
My apologies. Hangar 5 remains a challenge, that we are still losing significant money on that hangar. It was not built for the purpose that it's currently serving. We still are working on the business development side to find an operator to be there. That's going to still take some time to rebuild the reputation of this airport for the types of Northeast operators that may see value there. Some drivers in the current operating budget, and some of these are driven by the fact that the airport is not a city department. For example, there's an audit that has to be done of the airport's books. If we were a city department, it would be rolled into a city's audit. Health insurance premiums, the airport sits in a different pool with Maine Municipal Health Trust. Our premiums go up, but our premiums are 20 to 25% higher than the 2 cities pay for their employees' health insurance premiums because of the size of the operation that we are. Snow and ice control, we've committed to being more aggressive getting the airport open after winter events, so we could try to be more predictable for not only the flight school and businesses, but for visiting air traffic. The product that we can use on our surfaces for aircraft is 25 times more expensive than what you use to put on the roads. We don't have a budget to be putting a lot of that product, so we have to be really strategic, but that number has continued to grow, and we've had to manage for that. Legal and compliance, that there are still some items that we're working through, and there's a number of policies and administrative systems that should have been in place that were not, and we're going to need to spend some time creating those to make sure that if there's ever turnover again on the administrative side, systems are in place to not allow the airport to go off the rails. With respect to the approach to the taxpayer impact, the board has been very deliberate, and Mark Blay, who's your citizen representative on the board, is here, and Councilor Chittum as well. We are trying our best to generate the revenue to support those increased costs. We know you're in a challenging budget situation, so we're trying to avoid asking for taxpayers to fund on the operating side if we can. What that means, though, is that there are things that aren't in the 2027 budget that we're required by the FAA to get done. So we have what's called an Exhibit A. It's our property map. That property map has not been properly maintained for decades. Properties were acquired or released, or there were easements acquired, and the airport did not properly document them. I can't explain why it wasn't caught before, but the FAA has said we must get it done. They want it done in the next fiscal year. That could require expensive title work and expensive survey work. I'm working to try to find a creative solution right now, but I knew I was not going to be able to ask the two cities for $100,000 to $200,000 in additional funding to solve that. So that's a risk, because the FAA expects it to get done. We're going to try to figure out how we solve that. I mentioned obstructions, so in particular trees that have grown over the decades. We have an obligation to maintain clear approaches. There are nearly 3,000 trees that now penetrate those approach surfaces. The FAA is giving us through 2030 to remove those. In fact, they told us it's conditional on the most recent grant to help deliver that T-hanger project, that we had to sign an agreement that we were in fact going to remove those trees. There is nothing in this budget that funds us removing those trees. We're going to try to find creative solutions to be able to make those trees go away, but there's a liability ticking there. Wildlife management. The FAA expects us to be proactively managing for wildlife. The current fence at the airport has not been properly maintained. We've been chipping away at areas where wildlife could enter the airfield. The FAA has an expectation that we're going to continue to advance making fence repairs. We're not budgeting to fully repair those fences in this budget. There's a little bit of text in the memo with respect to the 5 year, it's been 5 fiscal years now since the airport's asked for more funding. This is not a cry me a river reality for you folks, but inflation is what it is. So that $205,000 today is not going to buy what it could buy in 2023. So we're doing our best with those limited resources. There are over 3,000 airports in the national airspace system. We are in a very small group of what they call regional reliever airports. So while many community members may have not been out to the airport, and we're always happy we're actually going to be doing a community event here this summer, trying to ramp back up the community, being able to see this facility. There are only 150 airports that are both regional airports in terms of the number of based aircraft that also serve as a reliever to a commercial service airport. So we are a very important part of the national airspace system, and the FAA has reaffirmed that. I list a number of the types of users. You often hear with an airport, well, isn't that just where rich people go and play with their airplanes? And I won't read through the text, but just on the record to be able to share some of the uses that are regular at the facility. Emergency response and public safety. Life Flight of Maine is based there. The Maine State Police come through there. Game wardens, Forest Service, Marine Patrol, medical access and human services. Obviously, Life Flight, if anyone on their driver's license says they're an organ donor, we regularly will get a call, middle of the night. We send our team in to be able to support arriving aircraft and medical vehicles for organ harvest. Because if someone's an organ donor, there's that clock is ticking, and we'll have aircraft arriving from all across the country, and even in the reverse, if there are organs coming in for someone who's taking a donation. People may not think that the airport serves that role, but we are large enough to accept that. We also have a number of pilots. Mark is among them. Jim Platts is among the leaders in that host or deliver what they call Sky Hope flights. So these are patients predominantly in Maine for the pilots based out of Lewiston that need access to unique and specialized care, that the time and the cost to travel to Greater Boston for care is too much. And they volunteer their time in their aircraft to be able to fly from Lewiston to Eastport to Frenchville and then back to bring them to medical appointments. That's a critical value that we deliver. We serve as a hub for the Humane Society to bring in rescue animals. In fact, we had some kittens and dogs come through on Saturday. So folks that adopt rescue animals, there's a chance some of those may have flown in to the community and not driven. UPS has overnight packaging that comes through. Corporate and business aviation, we'll regularly have, say, technicians that are working at the Walmart distribution center. They're flying in. They'll borrow our courtesy car, which is the old airport manager's car. They'll go do some work at the distribution center, come back, get in their aircraft, and head back to, say, Pennsylvania. That happens every day, multiple times a day. And of course, aviation, business and workforce development. I mentioned the 5 businesses that we have there now with the 3 maintenance shops and the 2 flight schools. We're in regular conversation with LRTC and the leadership of the Lewiston Public Schools, with Edward Little, the community college. How can the airport support career pathways that connect kids to aviation? Both for their opportunities to build their careers here, but also for them to get exposed to careers they could pursue elsewhere. And how can the local schools work with the airport to do that? Let's see, I'll try to wind down here. Competitive context, I think this may be one of the most important things, like where are we going next? How long do the cities have to subsidize the airport? The reality is only 5% of GA airports are self-sustaining. Those tend to be reliever airports in much larger metros. They're in Metro Chicago, so it's a predominantly jet activity that's not going into Chicago O'Hare. They're there. They can generate significant ground leases. There's significant industrial development around them. One of our challenges here is we're in southern Maine. We're in Greater Portland. Folks have choices if they're not going into the jet port. They could come into Lewiston. They could come into Augusta. They could come into Brunswick. Obviously, there's a limit. Folks that are flying, say, private, probably want to travel 30 to 45 minutes. While the two cities are generous in supporting the airport and the airport's working to generate revenue, the Augusta State Airport gets no contribution from the city of Augusta. It is fully subsidized by Maine DOT on the operating side, and it's fully subsidized by Maine DOT on the capital side. And that agreement for Augusta to run that airport includes no performance measures. So we have more base aircraft, we have more turbine traffic, we're selling more fuel. That's a challenge when the state has its hand on the scale. Similarly with Brunswick Landing and the Brunswick Executive Airport, that airport was opened. DOT provided an open line of credit that was rung up to maybe $1.2 million. No interest, no requirement for payback. Layered on top of that, as Lewis and Auburn have industrial parks, the state committed to 25% of the payroll taxes from employees in that area being returned to Brunswick Landing to support their infrastructure development in the airport. So as we continue to grow, I would say we are outperforming those facilities. We've got assets that we can promote, the freight intermodal, the airport owns freight rail fronting properties, the LA Railroad is there. But one of our challenges in projecting those assets is the state has their hand on the scale. And at some point, we'll need to have some strategic conversations about how do we get to the next level, because it is certainly difficult to be paddling up against that type of current. So I'll stop there. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to. There's a lot happening. It's all very, very positive, even in these challenging fiscal times. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director. Quick questions for me. You mentioned hangar number 5. Was that the Lufthansa hangar?
It was, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then how many students, like the combined number, if you know it, between both flight schools?
I don't know. I'd probably guess 30 to 40 students.
So, yeah, not like 5.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the fuel sales, it's a good measure that the aviation gas or 100 low lead, both cities supported the investment in the self-serve system, where Councilor Chittum's always asking at meetings, wanting to reaffirm, what are we doing for fuel sales outside of business hours? And we're doing 15 to 20% of our fuel sales outside of our 8 to 5. We're open every day but Christmas. But we have more than tripled the fuel sales over the last couple of years, and having a flight school is a major driver in that.
Gotcha. Thank you. Councilor Longchamps.
Thank you for presenting. I just have a quick question. The aviation school, is that something new here in Auburn? Is that a pilot?
There's 2 flight schools. Chickadee Aviation, they were originally at the Portland Jetport, and they relocated to the airport about 2 years ago now. And the newest flight school, Tailfin Aviation, is a new flight school. So a gentleman, it's a startup business, and he opened in November.
Okay, yeah. I sent my son to pilot school, but he had to go to Augusta, so that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Najin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director, for the presentation. I just want to
state that under your leadership, the airport is turned a more profitable page, and I think that's a positive for both cities' finances, and so that's great. I'm glad that you're willing to try to figure out creative solutions to some of these FAA requirements that otherwise would cost the taxpayers considerable money, and that, you know, it's one of those gifts that keeps on giving when the FAA gives you an airport. So, thank you.
Further comments, questions from councilors? Thank you. Or did you have something, Director?
Yeah, I've got one more thing that I just want to put out there, and it relates to sort of where we're going next. So I've started work on a business plan for the airport. And let's lock in a strategic direction, ensure that the two cities who are responsible buy in, and the airport board is then stewarding that through their airport director, right? The decision should come this way and not this way. One of the challenges we have is that right now, I don't believe the airport's 5-year capital program, which was submitted in November, was included in Lewiston's CIP. And I know it's a difficult time to be thinking about what might be invested for FY27. But given that we just created a new master plan, some of the capital items are business development related. How do we keep growing and become more sustainable? Some of them are directly related to federal obligations to maintain the airfield. And what I want to avoid is when the FAA looks at our CIP and says, wait a minute, are both sponsors committing to their obligations to the airport? We just came out of compliance risk, but they're still watching because they want to ensure that just because things are okay now, are we going to step back? So at some point, I think we will need to have a conversation about what the future looks like for capital and how we can try to be predictable in that capital. Because if we're going to attract investment, they're going to want to know, okay, if I'm willing to build a hangar here, are the two cities on board? They've built a master plan, they've got this strategy, are they really committed to it? Or is it just marketing material and I make a commitment to invest or bring a larger aircraft and then the cities retract? I mean, ultimately, the city, it's your decision and Auburn's council decision in terms of those investments, but the future of business development is going to rest on the investment decisions that the two councils want to make.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you.
Come visit.
Thank you.
Director Roy, what's up next?
Next is the nonprofit ask. So I'm going to remove myself from the table so that they can come up and speak to the council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you have two sections in front of you, the nonprofit cash request and the in-kind. We were recently contacted by the Maine Strong Foundation. They were asking for a $360 cash donation for porta potties. However, they have had those donated, so we can remove that request off the list. They still have an in-kind request. That is the softball tournament they do at the Ron Moran Fields. I'm not sure if anybody's here from them tonight.
Okay, so, all right, I guess we're going to go in order here. Do we have somebody from the Girl Scouts of Maine? Please join us. It says here that you've requested 10,000?
Yes.
Okay, if you can both introduce yourselves and then briefly tell us about that.
My name is Deirdre Clifford. I am the Vice President of Development for Girl Scouts of Maine.
My name is Megan Main. I am the Community Program Manager for Girl Scouts of Maine.
And we're seeking funding for our community programs, which are troops that operate in Lewiston in areas where we're unable to find a volunteer and we have reason to believe that the girls are not able to find their own membership fees. So Megan and other staff members will run troops in these areas. We have had one functioning at the Hillview Apartments for many years. It's a huge success. It has 30 girls attending in all ranges, kindergarten through high school, and experiencing all of what Girl Scouts has to offer. And then recently across the state, we've been starting after-school programs with the same model, having a staff member They're covering the fees for the girls and giving the full Girl Scout experience. This is specifically to fill in the gaps in after-school programming that many schools are facing. Currently, we're at McMahon, and we're hoping to expand that in the future because this program is going really well, and the girls are benefiting.
I would just like to add that, as Deirdre noted, that we are providing this opportunity in areas where we believe there is some financial restraint. In addition to removing that barrier, we also aim to remove the barrier of transportation that we see commonly for these programs. At our school-based programs, a lot of times the schools, including one that's running at McMahon, provides a bus ride home for these girls. The Hillview, the Ride Out Ave program operates within their community buildings, so there's no need for girls to be dropped off by an adult or picked up. We walk the girls home after a meeting. So,
Thank you. Questions, comments from the council? Councilor Najin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question. So it's McMahon and Hillview that the two programs are being run in? Is that the only two programs that we're talking about?
Those are the ones that are currently running. We're talking with other schools in the area, hoping to start something in the new academic year, but currently those are the two that are running.
And how many area youth are currently involved in both of the programs?
yeah, I would
Sorry,
say.
can both of you just move the microphones closer to you? Just,
Yes.
yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I would say the McMahon one was a recent startup in the beginning of 2026. I don't have an official number registered. We are operating within the 21st Century program at that school. Last year, we ran a program there that had about 7 girls participating. We would like to run more within the school systems. The 21st Century program actually reached out to us this year looking to have us back, but we were unable to find staffing for it. We're hoping that we can have a partnership with Bates in the future with some work study students. As far as Hillview goes, there are currently approximately 30 girls registered for that program who are participating. And that, as Deirdre said, is across grade levels K through 10 currently.
And I'll just add that in all of Lewiston, including those programs, there's about 100 girls participating in Girl Scouts. So this is a lot of girls who are in need of these programs.
Understood. And just for my understanding and the public's understanding, so the Girl Scouts of Maine is a separate organization than the national organization. How does the funding model work is basically what I'm asking.
Yeah. We do not receive funding from Girl Scouts National, Girl Scouts of the USA. There are occasional grant opportunities, including this grant opportunity that we received to start 9 programs in schools this year. These were very small grants, and we, like I said, we're doing this across the state. So actually, the one at McMahon is not covered by that national structure, but most of our funding comes from local community fundraising and then operating.
And I take it dues as well, is that correct or no?
Yes, yeah, we have a portion of the membership dues and a portion of our product program, which includes Girl Scout cookies.
My neighbor is Girl Scout, and I believe her mother is a troop leader, so.
Yes, and it's incredible what these troop leaders are able to do. Each troop requires 2 troop leaders because we don't have any adults alone with the children. It takes hours and hours of training to learn all of the mental health things that they need to know the signs of abuse and neglect that are required when you're around children, and then, of course, learn all of Girl Scouts programming, which covers STEM, life skills, entrepreneurship, and the outdoors. So it's really understandable that we're not always able to find these 2 volunteers who can run these troops, which often takes hours a week. So having these programs where we're not able to find those volunteers is essential, but that's wonderful that your neighbor's doing that.
Those were my questions. Thank you.
Councilor Chittum, did you have something?
Yes, I do. Thank you. This is a statewide organization?
Correct.
What's, in round numbers, what's your annual operating budget?
We have an annual operating budget of around $5 million, and we serve around 4,500 girls across the state in every county, and that's about 400 troops.
Okay, and do you ask each municipality that you serve for donations, contributions every year?
We do not. No, this initiative is relatively new. So we've received funding from whatever we call these programs, A Place for Girls, and we have several running throughout the state. The one at Hillview is our longest and most successful. We have gotten funding from various United Ways. In the past, we received funding for this program from United Way of Androscoggin County, but costs are going up, need is going up, and we are trying to diversify community support.
All right. Thank you. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Further questions? Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Do we have someone here from the Dempsey Challenge? Danica, I thought I recognized you.
Yes.
Come on down.
Thought I'd wear my sweatshirt for you. Hi, I'm Danica Delatetsky. I'm the Events and Sponsorship Manager for the Dempsey Challenge. All right. Yes, so new this year, we are asking for a cash contribution of $10,000 in addition to the amazing in-kind services that you already do provide for the Dempsey Challenge. And this has been sort of a culmination after over a year of discussion about our electrical equipment, essentially is what it is. So backstory, the Dempsey Center owns electrical equipment, the equipment that is currently used and installed to make everything happen at the Dempsey Challenge. We pay to install it. We've tried several different ways to get that cost down. Essentially, volunteers, you can't always count on volunteers. You need master electricians involved. Long story short, it is one of our largest bills. Currently, we are paying $24,000 to get that installed for the week and for the weekend events. And so we've been trying to get creative about how we can help offset some of those costs. One of the things we do, by the way, lend the electrical equipment to the Balloon Festival to use as well. So originally our first ask was, well, could the city potentially install for us the way it's installed for the Balloon Festival? That wasn't a possibility. So the ask came at the suggestion of, well, let's ask for a $10,000 ask to help offset that cost. So that's where the ask is coming from. As far as like budget for the Dempsey Challenge, we have, since I had this role in 2019, we've actually had to cut our costs down nearly $100,000 after losing our presenting title sponsor. So I'm constantly looking at every line item of our budget on how we can continue to create the amazing event that we do have. And thankfully, the city has been so supportive across the board for this event, and this just comes as another ask. What we do, we were looking at the package of what already is provided as far as in-kind value and support from the city, and we're going to value that at $10,000. So between the cash ask at $10,000 and the in-kind already support that we do have, we would like to value that as a sponsorship at $20,000. So in return, we would give all of those benefits to the city and really spotlight the city throughout the event weekend.
Is Patrick coming this year?
You know he is.
Further questions, comments from the council? Councilor Herman.
Thank you. This is more of a question for staff, I think, and you touched on it a little bit, but I was wondering as you were speaking, the city has an electrician, at least one. I'm sure he's very busy and has a lot to do, but I wondered if that connection of that equipment could be an in-kind contribution. I don't know, maybe that's already been talked about and there are issues with that.
Yeah, we've had discussions, Councilor, with Public Works, and they just don't have the bandwidth to do that. It's such a long setup that they just can't accomplish that and still do the other tasks that they want to. And I will point out, I don't know if Danica has seen this amount, but actually their in-kind request is now a little over $12,000 with Public Works and police officers that work that event.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and I would, that is probably due to the extra security we've asked for in regards to recent events and with Patrick coming in. So that's probably where that increase is coming from.
Councilor Najin, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Danica. Thank you for coming. And I just, For the folks at home and in the audience, the Dempsey Challenge is set up as a fundraiser, correct? And the funds go to?
Yes, exactly. Because of our sponsors, we can say 100% of the funds that are raised by participants go directly to programs and services at the Dempsey Center. We are a holistic program for our mission is to make life better for people impacted by cancer. Our founder, Patrick Dempsey, loves to say, we treat the person, not the disease. You have your oncology team, and our organization provides that wraparound care, holistic care, counseling, therapy, Reiki, massage, oncology massage, nutrition classes, for not only the person directly impacted by cancer, but also care partners, family, anybody who might need the services, and it's 100% free. I always like to say we don't ever even ask for insurance information. It's 100% funded by donors.
Thank you for that. And you mentioned the weekend, so is it a 2-day event this year?
It's not a 2-day event. We do have Friday night event that celebrates our top fundraisers, and then the event day will take place on Saturday, September 19th.
Okay, and I think this question is probably more for staff, but if we could get an idea of like the economic impact of having the Dempsey Challenge in the community each year, if we have an idea from possibly the Economic Development Department, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Further questions, comments? Councillor Chittum.
Thank you, Mr. Delatesky. I appreciate your work for the Dempsey Challenge and being here tonight. Same question I asked the Girl Scouts. What's your annual operating budget?
For the challenge itself, or for the Dempsey Center?
For the challenge.
For the challenge, right now, we have a $325,000 operating budget. It used to be $425,000. So it's cut down quite a bit.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you.
Administrator Kainrath, do we have someone to speak on the Balloon Festival?
I can take that, Mr. Mayor. We have begun the process again of the Balloon Festival. We've had a couple of meetings with staff. We're reaching out about our specialty balloons. You know, I don't want to give the theme away yet. I know our communications director, I know, is going to be working on that. But we've begun the process of assembling the team, reaching out to get donations. So we're looking for $10,000 in cash towards this event.
Do we have any questions? Yes, Councillor Chittum about
Thank
the
you.
Balloon Festival.
This is the Lewiston Auburn Balloon Festival. Has Auburn participated financially in this venture?
No, they have not.
Thank you.
Councillor Najin.
The funding, would that come from TIF funds, or would that come from the general operating budget?
General operating budget.
Is this coming from the marketing budget, or?
No, this is in your, the donations line, and it is in your budget already, in the donations. So if you choose to keep it in there, it will fund it. If you choose to remove it, the funds will be removed out of the budget.
Councillor Najin, yes.
And for last year's Balloon Festival, could we just get a breakdown of both the fundraising and costs sent to us, just so that we can take a look at it as a council? Thank you.
Kathy McDonald, you're here in some official capacity for the Balloon Festival.
I'm part of the committee, but I just wanted you to know that on our application, our tear down date is incorrect. It's August 25th, if that makes a difference to everyone. That's it.
Thank you. Further questions from the council about the Balloon Festival? Administrator Kainrath, do we have someone here to talk about Lewiston Live?
Yeah, I can take that, Mr. Mayor. So as you know, Lewiston Live is our new busking festival. A pilot was launched last fall. We're looking at a number of dates this spring to continue and grow the festival. This is a number of at least 5 street performer stations stationed around Dufresne Plaza and on Lisbon Street. Again, anticipating to grow attendance through the events taking course this spring. Any specific questions? Happy to take a stab at those.
Counselor Najin.
So we're talking about 10,000 for the budget, but that doesn't cover, and I think this comes back to the LA Balloon Festival as well. It doesn't cover the marketing costs. Is that correct? So when I'm asking for when I was asking for a breakdown of the LA Balloon Festival, would the marketing costs be included in that?
Yes, last year we applied for, actually, we've got the last 2 years for Maine Tourism Grant for $60,000, excuse me, from the state that we used for the marketing for the event. So we're applying again. I don't know if we're going to receive it. We may not. I do not know.
And that would be the same question for what I'm asking is $10,000 seems to be a small amount of money, including marketing the event. And so does that include, do we have a breakdown of last year's budget and what it looked like? Could we have that?
Yeah, we can get that. And Director Roy, this is out of the marketing budget, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
This is out of the marketing budget?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Further comments about Lewiston Live? And then is somebody here from is it the Public Health Committee that runs the Rally for Recovery?
I don't think there's anyone here for that, but this is our yearly event. We take that $1,500, comes out of opioid funds. It's an event that occurs in Kennedy Park. I see Catherine Ryder is here, but I think she's been part of the planning in the past. But this is just a continuation of that event that we've done for several years.
And there's money in the opioid
Correct,
fund?
yes.
Okay. All right, questions, comments about that? Okay, and now we're up to, is there anyone here to talk about summer fun and films?
Good evening. And this microphone, I'm usually used to standing and holding it, so this is going to be kind of difficult for me, but I'll do my best. Hi, my name is David. Oh, sorry, I'm
Yeah, no.
a little nervous.
Take it away, David. You're
All right,
good.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. My name is David Palazzolo, and I'm a Lewiston resident and the owner of Apollo Entertainment, the DJ sponsor for Summer Fun and Films for the past 5 years. I'm here tonight because I've seen firsthand the impact this program has on families, especially kids, who may not otherwise have access to experiences like this. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak tonight, and I am asking for continued support of the Summer Fun and Films, a long-running community program that provides free, accessible, and safe events for our community, both children and adults. Each event brings hundreds of residents, families, kids, and community members from all backgrounds in a safe and welcoming environment for many families, especially those facing financial burdens. Some parents have personally come to me and discussed the Disney-like experiences for their kids over the summer, many who would not normally have access to these types of events. Beyond entertainment, these events create a safe space where schools, nonprofits, and communities can connect directly with residents, sharing resources, building relationships, and strengthening community trust. The request for $10,000 goes directly into the program operations, including audiovisual setup, activities like face painting and inflatables, and event logistics. The program is voluntarily led, so those funds go directly into creating that experience for families and keeping it free to the public. At this point, the program has grown beyond any one individual. It is something the community has come to expect and rely on, and the value stands on its own. This is a proven program that brings people together, removes barriers for families, and strengthens our community. For many, it's one of the few chances to experience wonder and joy during the summer vacation, something very special, or truly special. As it enters into its 10th year, the question isn't whether if it works, it's whether if we choose to sustain this program moving forward. And in anticipation and some questions, the annual operating budget is $38,000 with an expense of $77,000 last year. The gross margin sit to be about $6,900 that carried, which obviously will go towards the expenses for this year. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, questions. Councilor Chittum. Or wait, sorry, Councilor Najin. I was looking at you.
Okay.
We're good. Go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question, two questions. One, how many events would the 2026 season be? Do you know how many movies would be played?
Yeah, I believe it's scheduled for 6 with possibly a 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, sorry. I have currently 5 pending. I know that they're in talks with the schools and the community leaders to kind of secure that. But I believe it's 5, possibly 6.
Okay, and in the past, there was presence from city departments, including the police department. There's no reason why city departments cannot participate as community.
I would invite all those to participate, including the city or any other department. In fact, a selfish plug, I've heard a lot of great organizations already talk. I'd love if you guys come and participate as well. So it's a great community program.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Chittum.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get your last name, David. You said $38,000 is your operating budget, but last year you spent $77,000?
Yeah, that is correct. The numbers that I was provided, mind you, as I flip through my papers really quickly, the estimated, estimated operating budget for 2026 is $38,450. Last year's our expenses totaled $77,000.
There's a problem there.
Well, they obviously estimated their operating budget.
Where did $39,000 come from?
The current profit and loss, which you might have received or not, doesn't
Did not.
specifically state where the difference is. I am happy to report, though, through both income and donations, they were able to have a net $6,000 profit. I mean, it's a nonprofit, so obviously it carried, but, so they're definitely maintaining.
Net revenues of $6,000. Well,
Yes.
that's good for you, especially coming out of a $39,000 hole. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Councillor Najin.
One thing just to speak to really quickly, I think last year there were either 7 or 8 movie nights, and so I think that accounts for maybe a higher operating cost as well. But
Yeah, it could. I'm not privy to that information, so we'll surely find out and send it to you, I'm sure. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Catherine Ryder, I'm under the impression that maybe discussion about the mobile unit might take a few minutes, so if you'll bear with me, we're going to do the Liberty Festival next.
I'm saving myself a few steps. I'm going to stay right here. So I'm Kathy McDonald. I am the chair of the Liberty Festival, and Marcus Tellerico is my co-chair. So we, again, this year are asking for $15,000 as well as community support. We're trying to organize 3 days this year, being on Friday night would be just an open community type event in Veterans Park with just some music and some children's activities. Saturday is the 4th of July. That will be starting in the evening as well, not until about 4:30. Fireworks going off at 9:30 p.m. And we'll have, again, music, entertainment, children's activities, food booths, in the variety as we usually do. And then we're hoping on Sunday to have more of an American salute and tribute to our country and our 250th anniversary. So we're kind of in the talks of trying to make a very large copy of the United States Declaration so that members of the community can just come and be part of it and sign the Declaration and hopefully create a little bit of pride in our history of our country. I've talked to a couple of members of the Historical Society that also have some interest in doing some presentations as well. So as always, we're excited. We're happy to be doing it. There are a couple of mistakes on our application as well. One being on page 2, parade is not checked off, but it is on page 5. So we are trying to create a parade. It's very difficult on the 4th of July, but we are working very hard in trying to come up with a parade. Other than that, we look forward to celebrating the 4th of July and our country's 250th anniversary. and I'm ready for any questions.
Director Roy, what was the amount that we funded at this last year? Was it 15 or was it a different amount?
Last year, we funded 15, removed 5,000 from the budget this year, so 10,000 is in your donation line for Liberty Festival for fiscal year '27.
Okay, but we did 15 last year.
Correct.
Okay. And then our buddies across the river, Kathy McDonald, what did they do?
They did 10,000 last year, and Lewiston did 15. We have requested 15 from them for this year as well.
Do we have an answer from them yet?
I do not.
Okay. Questions, comments from the council? Councilor Chittum.
Mrs. McDonald, thank you so very much for all of the work that you've done over the years on this Liberty Festival. I'm fully in favor of it, but I will continue to urge you to minimize the fireworks. Thank you.
Further questions, comments? Thank you very much.
I can tell you that the money that the city does give us goes directly to fireworks. The rest of the money for entertainment, the porta potties, all those other things, we work really hard to fundraise to pay for all of that so that the community benefits 100% from what the city gives us.
Thank you for that. Yeah, we're good if you
All
are.
set?
Yeah,
Good.
thank you. Yes, we have Spurwink here. If they can join us up at the front, that'd be lovely.
Good evening. You were going to say pull the mic up close, weren't you?
Yeah, people are getting the message. Appreciate that. If the three of you could please introduce yourselves and then kick us off here.
We can. Good evening, Mayor Shaleen and esteemed council members. Catherine Ryder, Senior Director of Strategic Initiatives for Spurwink. Feels a little bit like Old Home Week.
Hi, Rebecca Patkas. I'm a Vice President of Outpatient and Community Services at Spurwink.
Hello, I'm Ernestine Peralt, and I'm the Community Outreach Program Supervisor.
So we spent many hours in front of council over the past year as we were working to help build an ordinance for the city of Lewiston by offering information about the services that we provide and how we provide those services and the care we offer to the people in our community who are the most at risk, many who may be struggling with addiction, unhoused, perhaps untreated mental health, and all of that becomes part of the package. In our conversations, it became very clear to all of us that one of the issues with the program that we currently run at 1155 Lisbon Street is that we sit out on the outer edge of the city and that many of the people who may need our care may not be able to get to us. And even though we have seen an increase in foot traffic coming into our program, we firmly believe, and I believe some of the council members did as well, if we could establish a mobile unit that would go out into the community to places that fell within a buffer zone that the council would identify for us, that we would be able to bring that care to people most in need in a way that we could not otherwise. And we've provided you with a full proposal that outlines the services, the staffing, the unit that we would like to purchase for the purpose of doing this. It's a 2-year budget that we've presented to you, and Rebecca will go into that in a bit more detail. But this would allow us to kick off the program, to collect data, to report back to the city about the progress that we're making. In the executive proposal, you'll note that I've included data about state of Maine overdose deaths, and it's quite compelling. I think that Maine can be proud of the work it's done, and I will say to you that given my work at the state level and then back here in the community, I'm especially proud of the work that we've done here in Lewiston as well as over in Auburn. Our programs like Options and Project Support You, which work alongside of law enforcement, fire and rescue, and travel out with emergency medical services have made a tremendous impact. I believe that we have succeeded in building trust and hope where there may not have been trust and hope prior to, and that the education that we provide along with pathways to recovery, and not always back to our own services, to be clear, people have choices about where they would like to receive treatment when they're ready. But all of that work is the larger package of what we do. And so there is data in here talking about the numbers of people that we serve. When I spoke to you previously, I had mentioned to you that I was formerly the CEO of Tri-County Mental Health Services, which has joined with Spurwink. We celebrate 2 years today. April 1st was the date that we crossed over, and so here we are 2 years later with a very, very robust set of services that we can provide. And some of the services that will couple with this, potentially, if folks choose to work within the walls of Spurwink, include we'll have a crisis receiving center that will operate 24/7, 365 days, that will be opening in, dare I say, June, July. And it will receive all comers, and so we are very excited to offer that opportunity. We also have a number of services, as I've mentioned, that are boots on the ground out in the community. We have agency-based services, and so along with other providers in the community, our relationships with those providers, the collaborative work that we are doing with Maine Family Planning and also with our local hospitals, we believe that we could have a very comprehensive thread we could weave through the fabric of our community to ensure that there is a safety net under the people, again, who are most at risk and who we may not be able to reach otherwise. So I will stop there for a moment and pass it over to Ernestine, who is going to talk a little bit more about the specific services that we could offer.
The services that we can offer through mobile unit mimics a lot of what we do in our brick and mortar that's located at 1155 Lisbon Street. We have comprehensive harm reduction services there currently, and we would be obviously doing this through mobile. The unit would offer naloxone, sterile syringes, fentanyl test strips, and same-day MOUD initiation to reduce overdose risks. We would integrate primary and behavioral health care. Services include wound assessment, emergency first aid, HIV, HCV screening, and telehealth behavioral health support for holistic care. We would also continue to offer peer support and community connection. Peer specialists accompany staff to build trust and link clients to housing, recovery, and social services. The routes would be determined, obviously, by the overdose data and community input, ensuring targeted and adaptive service delivery. Mobile health units generally are going to places where, our folks that we're serving currently are, they're in pockets of the cities that are safe for them in their manner, that they decide they may not come to a brick and mortar for a variety of different reasons. So a mobile health service would obviously come to them and be able to connect them to important resources and healthcare services. Mobile historically helps to continue to build the model of healthier communities by reducing overdose fatalities, improving public safety, community resilience, cost savings, obviously, and a gateway to comprehensive care. Rebecca.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we included our budget documents in the packet you received outlining the 2-year budget. This is something that would be a shared cost between the cities of Lewiston and Auburn and covered through opioid settlement funds. So happy to answer any specific questions anyone might have. Do you want to?
One other comment that I'd like to make. One of the things I'm aware of is that our current ordinance does not include language around mobile unit, but I do recall that there was conversation about could that be an addendum to the ordinance if we were able to successfully craft the ordinance and get it passed. And so we would just like to offer that now with CDC rule having recently been promulgated, we have the current language from the state that we could utilize. We would also be happy to come to work groups and work with City of Lewiston to help draft language for a mobile unit. And so just raising awareness that we know that that currently does not exist.
Yes, Councilor Herman.
Thank you, and thank you for presenting. So I see that you do plan to, if this does go forward, to split kind of between Lewiston and Auburn. And
Yes, we have already had conversations with Auburn. They are in receipt of the same proposal with the split that has been indicated in the budget documents.
okay, and that's where I was going. Do you have a final or a preliminary answer from them yet, or are they kind of at the same stage we are?
Same stage you are at, and I believe we have a date pending for next week.
Okay.
We're waiting for final on that date.
All right. And then my next question, I think, is probably for Director Roy. Do you have the current balance or approximate balance of our opioid settlement funds?
Currently, there's $528,499.
And is any of that already allocated for other uses?
I removed that from the total. So the total is $696,521. There's an encumbrance in there for $168.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Najin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all for coming. I've got a couple of things. One, I believe Auburn still has a moratorium in place for syringe exchange. Is that correct?
That's a great question. I know that there are council discussions about a syringe exchange that we have been part of,
So they're probably crafting some sort of ordinance. We were going to have a separate ordinance for mobile units, and I don't know exactly where we're at right now as far as any of those discussions are concerned. I know this is more about the allocation of the funding versus the other pieces, but I think that this is going to require a workshop with some of the proposals concerning the underwritten. You've got some great slides in here, for instance, right, that nobody can see, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions from the community. So I think at some point we need to have a workshop around what this program looks like, and
Absolutely.
then also I would ask that if you could possibly have a representative come to the Lewiston Area Public Health Committee meeting to speak to this program specifically, just so that we can get some feedback from those folks as well.
We would be more than happy to be present.
Okay. And that's basically all my questions at this moment. Thank you.
Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious, do we think it's a good use? So it's opioid settlement funding, and we're going to use a mobile unit to bring needles to addicts so that they can abuse opiates. Is that the plan?
I would suggest that we probably see that a little bit differently, and for us, it's much bigger than just bringing people needles, and Ernestine can speak to the work that her staff does. That is one service out of many services that happen in harm reduction. And I would also suggest to you that our experience over the years, and you're looking at someone who has a reformed experience of that, is that when you meet people where they're at and you can start with harm reduction, you can most often move folks onto a pathway of recovery. And when you see someone reclaim their life and reintegrate with family members, reintegrate into the community, go back into the workforce, it is really a remarkable experience. And so, yes, that is what we are hoping to do.
I just struggle, because what we have is an illegal drug trade that's thriving here in Lewiston, and all the negatives that go with it, the crime, the property crime, the violence, the destruction of lives and the family members of the people that are addicted to these drugs. And it seems counterproductive, to me at least, to give money that was rewarded as funding because of all the damage that opioid did, just to go back and help people abuse more opioids, which only contributes to criminal enterprises and black markets that are thriving and taking over many parts of our city right now. And I don't think that helping people get clean is done by delivering needles to them where they are so that they can inject potentially lethal drugs. I don't know how that is healthcare or life-saving or beneficial at all, and I understand that we're likely going to agree to disagree on that, but what percentage of this do you have any idea what is going to be used for driving around delivering needles to people so that they can use it, and what part of it is going to be delivering mental health services or wound care, like you said, or do you have any idea what the breakup is of the use of this mobile unit, should it get?
Do you want to take that, Ernst?
Sure. I would equate that to what our percentage is in our brick and mortar currently. The syringe exchange for us is actually a very small portion. It's probably our smallest portion of delivery service in our brick and mortar. Predominantly, folks are coming in for wound assessment, and they also are coming in for hygiene products and recovery support services. We have peers there that have lived experience, and they're offering coaching and support. And there's lots of referrals to treatment connections and other kinds of healthcare needs that people have. You know, I think one of the best examples that I've ever actually received from a client that receives our services is I was working with a client for quite some time, and they were struggling with staying clean and sober, but they kept coming into the clinic to receive supplies, but it wasn't so much about the syringes. It really was about being able to connect with someone who's had lived experience and being able to kind of guide them through that this is a process. And one day this young lady said to me, "I know what you've been doing all this time." And I said, "What is that?" And she said, "You've been holding hope for me until I can find it for myself." And for me, that's what we do this for every day, is to be able to supply that for them. Sometimes it comes by way of supplies, but predominantly it comes from connection with individuals that are struggling, that just need a bit of a light to kind of guide them, you know, towards wellness. And that's the highest percentage of the work that we're doing, and that we also hope to continue to do through our mobile.
You sound very passionate about your work, and I appreciate that. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. It's not meant to be insulting or rude. It sounds like you care about the people that you work with and the examples that you just gave.
Absolutely.
How would that affect you if one of the needles that you gave them caused them to overdose and pass away, and they never got the opportunity to get
I'm
the
sorry,
treatment that
that's
they
not
need?
an appropriate question. Don't answer that.
Why not?
Yeah, no, we're not having a discussion about ideology right now. We're simply having a discussion about the ins and outs of their presentation. So thank you, Counselor.
Do you know the conversion rates of the percentage of people that come get needles from you that end up actually in treatment and getting better? Do you know, say, out of the 100% of people that come to you to get needles, what percentage of those individuals end up converting into treatment and actually being successful in that treatment?
Sure. We have data collection that supports, you know, a lot of these findings and whatnot. Predominantly, we are obviously trying to get people to go towards any kind of level of care and treatment and whatnot. You know, I think our percentage is actually pretty high. You know, you're probably looking at it probably about half of the people. Now, that's over a course of time. It could take months for someone to get to the point where they decide that today's the day. And that's the typical progression of people entering recovery. And the point is for them to continue to have access to people that can lead them towards those directions. And that's what mobile, as well as a brick and mortar harm reduction service, does provide, is that continuance of providing access to talking about recovery and their options and the support for that and taking that next step to do that. So there's a very high percentage of folks that are taking steps every day. And if your measure is that they are successful in recovery and that they're longstanding, you know, in sobriety, then I'm sorry that you're missing the point really of you know, harm reduction services, which is really to get them to survive another day, to have another chance.
Is there a city bus stop at the brick and mortar location currently?
Yes, there is.
Those are all my questions for now.
Councillor Chittum.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting. You've already pointed out the fact that we have a disconnect between our ordinances and your desire here to operate a mobile unit. Does Spurwink operate any other mobile units in the state of Maine?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Patkus, you stopped by talking about the budget, and I've noticed there's a 4% increase in here. Is this through the calendar year from now to December 1st and January 1st? Because there are two sections in here.
Yes, so there's 2 pages. The first page is the.
Just move the mic
Oh.
closer to you. You can just, yeah, there you go.
So year 1 is the first page and year 2 is the second page. Is that?
Okay, that answers the
Okay.
question. All right, so those are full years.
Correct.
In the first year, however, the Lewiston share is $209,000. In the second year, if I'm reading this correctly, it's $85,000.
Yes,
Is
that's
that
correct.
Is that capital cost to get the? Okay.
Exactly. The purchase of the vehicle is in the first year budget and not in the second year budget. So
Okay.
that's represents that difference.
Thank you for that. Now, the tough question, if we move forward a year, you all appreciate that this is an exceedingly difficult year for every municipality in the state, particularly for Lewiston, because we have another complexity that's been thrown into our budget process. If this is deferred for a year, there will obviously be detriment and harm because it hasn't been put in place immediately. Can you talk to that? What happens if this program is deferred for a year?
I think it's fair to say that the rates of overdose deaths were escalating until services like Project Support You, options, distribution of Narcan came into being. And now we are seeing significant reductions in overdose deaths. And some of you know, because I've testified in front of you before, I lost a son, a combat veteran, who came back from combat theater and could not tolerate the moral wounds he experienced and fell into a spiral. And I will tell you, I am grateful for the access he had for the period of time that kept him alive because it kept him with us longer. He ultimately succumbed to his addiction and died in December of 2021. And at that point, my commitment was sealed to continuing to provide outreach, connection, the building of trust, the offering of hope so that people could live another day and move towards recovery. And we see it over and over and over again. And I will tell you, it does not discriminate. There is no discrimination in addiction. You would be amazed at the people that we see. And when they get their lives back and their families are reconnected, there is a beauty in that I can't even put into words.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I should have perhaps phrased my question a little more
Sorry, I kind of
clearly. If this program were delayed a year, would there be a backsliding in the progress that's been made with your brick and mortar establishments in your? And that's a open-ended question.
I think what's missing is that our colleague agency closed, and they were central in Lewiston, right? And so there was a lot of conversation around, can people get to us? And yes, there's a bus route, but not everybody is even in the center of the city to connect to the bus to get to where we are. There are places that people are trying to live that are not going to get them to where we are. So we wanted to be more accessible to the community and working closely with City of Lewiston, with law enforcement, who we are already corresponding with. We're mapping, we know where overdose deaths are taking place, so we are able to zone in on all of that. And we will have technology on the unit, if we are successful in purchasing it, which will alert us if there's a spike in overdose deaths in any particular area.
Thank you. One final question. Could you speak a little bit to the coordination with the homeless shelter? Your coordination with the homeless shelter?
Shall I give you that one?
Do you want to take? So we are as Catherine had mentioned earlier, we are getting ready to launch our crisis receiving center, which this maybe sounds like a tangent, but I'm going. in that
Just
direction,
move
but-
the whole apparatus.
Sorry,
Thank you.
sorry. So a lot of collaboration there. Those conversations that we are already have been having in the course of the work we're doing are deepening in the context of the work we're expanding as we're getting ready to launch our crisis receiving center. So this is work that happens right now, and Ernestine can maybe add some detail to what her team is currently doing in terms of collaborating, but I would see us, continuing to sort of deepen that work in partnership to make sure we're sort of meeting all of the community needs. Anything you want to add?
Sure. Part of my role as a community outreach supervisor at Spurwink is that I have the pleasure of working with 15 individuals that do provide community outreach daily to Lewiston, to Auburn, and throughout Anderson County as well. Some of the programs expand into the rurals. And they're predominantly going everywhere where people are and connecting with them and offering support and trying to get them, obviously, to consider options for treatment and any kind of health services and whatnot as well. So it mimics a bit of what we're doing in the brick and mortar, but predominantly their job is out in the streets, encampments, the jail, the ED, BED, you name it. There really is no barrier to where they're able to go and access people, and it's all grant funded, and so it doesn't. A person is not required to participate in these services, and they're not required to have insurance or or even they can be anonymous as well. They can continue to work with someone anonymously until they're ready to. Say their official name so they can connect to services and whatnot. So it's a very low barrier way of delivering service to the community.
Thank you. Do you have somebody that's at the homeless shelter on a regular basis, and do you have a seat on the board?
I do not have a seat on the board.
Spurwink.
Spurwink does have a seat on the board.
Yes. So as far as all of my staff that are doing community outreach services, they do regularly attend and go to the warming center and whatnot and to provide support and care.
As I understand it, it's going to be a homeless shelter as of tomorrow.
Yes.
Councilors, if
Thank
we
you.
can, keep this focus on the actual topic here, the mobile facility. 1 second, Councilor Roy. Director Roy, I don't know if this has been touched on or not. Could the amount that's requested be wholly funded by the opioid fund, or certain parts are excluded?
So if the request for 294 is approved by council, it could be funded from the opioid fund.
Like, it would meet all the requirements for the opioid fund use?
I'd have to look at every single thing, but I think as long as it's for recovery, I know that they have other services, but the bulk of it recovery, then it should pass. I'd have to look at your detail and then look at the paperwork for the opioids requirements.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was my question. However, let's say, I know what this would do to the community, and I know how important this is to a lot of people. If it were not to pass, you did say that you have outreach services now. Would there be a plan to maybe ramp those up? No. Okay. But I am glad that it could possibly get in there. So thank you.
Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. So we touched on the fact that the first year budget is a little higher because of the capital expense. So you have about $85,000 for the second year, and then would you presume that amount would stay around there, probably going up slightly due to inflation in further years?
Sure. So one of the things that we have been talking about in the planning for this just relates to that sustainability plan and how we would be able to continue to offer these services post year 2. There's a number of different sort of pathways for that. I can start, and then Catherine, you can add. One of the things we've talked about is now that the CDC, the regulations do support mobile units as well, there are possibilities of where our brick and mortar overlap and this exchange. So one of the things we're looking to collect data on if we are to proceed with this is, how does that influence our traffic in the building? Maybe we don't need to be open at the exact same hours if we have times that we're in the community. Maybe we can share resources between our CDC funding. Now, granted that there's moving parts with that funding as well, but thinking about sort of how we look at this as a whole towards sustainability. Catherine, I'll let you speak to some of the other sort of opportunities for funding coming down the road.
The other places that we're fairly confident that we would be successful in applying for grants is with the Maine Recovery Council, who are also recipients of state opioid settlement funds, as well as the AG's office, which has established a protocol through the Moss Institute at USM. We have both of those things tucked away in folders, ready to go when the time is right. But as Rebecca said, we're hopeful that there will be some translation of CDC dollars that would follow the mobile unit by the time we get to year 3.
Okay, thank you for that. And then I also just wanted to remind counselors that this proposal is for opioid settlement funds, which are limited to specific uses and are not part of the general fund, don't impact the tax rate as well.
Councillor Najin.
Just quickly to touch on this two subjects. First one is the HIV testing, that is rapid testing. Am I correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. We're definitely going to need another workshop so we can go over some of these pieces. But I just want to highlight that I realize that we're trying to meet people where they're at, and I appreciate that. But I want to point out that the encampments that we're currently seeing in the city are conditions that no one should be living in. Ultimately, the city allowing these encampments is to the detriment of the people who are staying in those encampments, and it's a very big challenge for the city, as well as the neighborhoods that these encampments are located in, as well as the people who are staying in these encampments. And so, at the end of the day, I support the mobile concept. I do not support encampments in the city. So, thank you.
Understood.
Further questions, comments for Spurwink team here? Yes, Councillor Longchamps.
Good evening. I would just like to know,
Councillor Longchamps, please use the mic.
will these vehicles just be used in Lewiston and Auburn, or will they go elsewhere?
Strictly Lewiston and Auburn for those first 2 years at least. If we see that there's a need elsewhere and there is funding that is made available to, and I don't think it would be the entire county of Androscoggin. I think that may be unreasonable, but if we're currently serving in Lisbon with our options program, so it may be that a stretch out in that direction would be possible. But I think we know the bulk of the work will be right here in Lewiston, Auburn, and definitely only in Lewiston, Auburn in the first few years.
And my next question kind of goes with what Councillor Najin was bringing up, the concerns about encampments. Would you guys go to those encampments to
Kristen,
provide
I'll let you take
services?
that.
I believe that that would be something that we would discuss with you all in the future session in regards to, the ordinance and the proximity of, of where to go, what would be appropriate within what distance from certain structures and, facilities and all of that. So that would have to be discussed, obviously, separately.
And I think we could add that historically, our staff have gone along with law enforcement when they have gone to the encampments to work with folks to try to connect them to services and have had some success with that.
Wonderful, wonderful, yes. So my concern would be we need to try to get people out of those encampments. And I just feel as much as we want to bring services and bring them items and food and do all of those wonderful things to care for our neighbors, I also believe we need to do a better job at trying to provide the resources to get them out of there for many reasons. So I would be a little concerned that if we did agree to this, having you guys go out there and provide it's one of those things, too much services, meeting them where they're at, may be damaging as well.
And I would suggest, and may I offer something, Mayor Schlien?
Please continue.
We'll be showing another viewing of the documentary film Building Hope over in Auburn in May at the Drop-In Center. And so I would invite all of you to come to that so that you can get to meet some of the people who have lived in encampments. And it is not a happy place to be, right? And people are not comfortable there. So a lot of our work really focuses on what would life look like if it were different and how could you get there. A lot of motivational interviewing. So resources to keep them alive today, but with a goal to move them along to something different.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Director Roy, are you coming back to join us?
Mr. Mayor, we have the in-kind request.
Well, yes, but I think in the past, I think we've, Director Roy has, our Director of Finance has simply gone over those, and if there's questions for individual projects, the councilors can ask them, or were you anticipating going over every single one?
Well, we have a group of folks here. I mean, we can go through the list that's there. But some of the folks here are not asking for cash, they're just asking for in-kind requests.
Right, okay. Who is here from the Alzheimer's Association? Come on down, or, yes.
We just use the
there you
voting.
go.
I'll stay here, so it maybe is a little quicker. I'm Chris Baker with the Alzheimer's Association. I'm Development Manager for the state of Maine. I oversee the Walk to End Alzheimer's that is based here in Lewiston, Auburn. We are October 3rd this year at Samard Payne Park, and we are just asking for in-kind for the permit coverage. And I do understand from Chief Conley from last year that the police coverage comes from that. We do not close down any streets. We just ask for an officer to be manned at our registration table in the case that people bring donations the day of, and then follow a staff member to the banks or to the post office so that it can be shipped off to our funding source.
Questions for, I'm sorry, your name again?
Chris Baker.
Chris Baker.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do we have someone here from the Greater Androscoggin Humane Society?
Good evening, I'm Donna Ritchie, Development Director and Interim Executive Director at the Humane Society. And we're asking for support for next April for our Dash for Dogs 5K. And it's really just to set up with the cones to keep all the runners and walkers safe.
Questions? Councilor Nagy.
It's not this April, it's next April.
We have one this April, but that was on last year's budget.
Yeah, okay,
So this is
and what
next
date is that
April.
on this April?
April 26th, I believe. It's a Sunday, or 28th.
There isn't,
26th.
the reason I ask, I live really close to the Riverwalk, and it's always nice to be able to go out and like pick up a little bit before the run comes through.
Yeah, yep.
Perfect.
That's
Thank you.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have someone here from the American Lung Association? Trek across Maine.
Good evening. George Eastman with the Trek Across Maine for the American Lung Association. We're not asking for any money. We're just asking for the in-kind donations that you've been providing us with for the last, well, probably 6 years since we've been coming here. That's usually like police officers for intersections and barricades, electronic traffic control devices, things like that.
Questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Administrator Canrath, I'd like to move the city of Lewiston as a block to the bottom. And so do we have anyone here from the YMCA? Come on down or step on up.
Good evening, Marcy Hurd from the Triple Crown, LA Triple Crown. So the Fit Fest is on June 6th this year on Sunday. And we were also, we have the Bridge Run that's in August. And so each year we ask for in-kind services for police and for maintenance, public works, for road closures. They're actually just partial road closures.
Any questions for Marcy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Councillor Najin.
In the past, you've had I believe David Hediger's on the committee.
Committee, correct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's notified us of different organizations of when the road closures will be coming through. That's still going to happen, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have someone here to talk about Taste of Harvest? Taste the Harvest.
Hello, everyone. I'm Susan Rulin. I'm the CEO and president of the LA Metro Chamber. And I'm joined by...
Hello, I am Justin. I am the events coordinator for the LA Metro Chamber.
Woohoo! Please continue.
Sure. So Taste the Harvest, what we're asking for is a road closure of Lisbon Street. This is going to take place September 30th. So we'll need barricades. We'll need public works to help clean up around there. We asked for some porta potties. It's all listed in our in-kind request. We've been doing this this will be our 8th year doing this, and we're hoping to make it a little more accessible to those around the downtown Lewiston area. We had a high price point last year, and so we're trying to make it a little bit more accessible for a bigger outreach for people to attend.
Questions about Taste the Harvest? And then I assume that you guys are going to touch on kickball.
Yes.
Please talk
Yes.
about that now.
Great. So that's going to take place July 14th at the Randall Road Fields. What we're asking for is Public Works to assist in creating a beer tent. So we'll need some barricades for that. Some porta potties for that. Minimal asks for that event.
Questions about kickball? We're good. Or Councilor Najin, did you have a question?
In the past, it was at Smart Payne.
Yes, it was when it was connected to the Riverfest, but we are no longer pursuing Riverfest, and the fields at Randall Road have 3 fields, so we can have 3 games happening at the same time.
And you won't lose balls in the canal. Yeah.
Correct.
Perfect.
And I believe the city of Lewiston is a team, so excited for that.
Public Works makes a strong showing.
We love Public Works.
Don't we all? Okay, further questions for the chamber? We're good, thank you. I think our Liberty Festival people have left. I think we mostly know about that. Somebody here from the Marcy, did you already talk about that? Okay.
Went over that.
Okay, we're making such great progress. Danica, did you want to talk about Dempsey? Did you have anything else to add, or do we have any questions about the in-kind donation request for Dempsey? I guess we're good. All right, moving right along. We're going to turn the page. I notice that we have President and CEO Hogan here from Community Credit Union. Can you talk to us about the block party?
Yes, thank you. So Susan Longchamps and I are looking to bring back the Pine Street Community Block Party again this year. So looking for in-kind donations for permits, Public Works, and Lewiston Police Department, please.
Questions about the block party? Councilor Najin.
Just a comment. It was sad to see it not happen last year, and looking forward to seeing it happen this year. So,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Is David still here from Lewiston Summer Fun Films? I think. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, just real quickly, the in-kind donation just includes the various in-kind donations from previous years, including support dropping off and picking up trash cans, unlocking gates, public parking spaces. Also for Counselor, and I apologize, Chittim, am I saying that correct? The variance and difference for the budget for clarification was capital expenses for one time, including buying new trailers, wraps, other different type of assets. So that's why it's the $39,000 has been found.
Good, I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to note that we've made substantial progress this evening. Okay, I guess that's that. Do we have, who's here from LA Arts? Okay, we mostly know about that anyways. Healthy Neighborhoods. Amy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for your, Amy Smith, thanks for your time. I'm representing Healthy Neighborhoods tonight, and we're looking for in-kind donation to continue our successful bulky trash removal efforts down in the tree streets. We've been collaborating with Public Works on this since 2019, and we do 4 events a summer: May, June, September, and October. And across the 4 events, we generally remove between 12 and 15 tons of bulky waste from the neighborhood. And the in-kind request is, we've collaborated with Public Works to make it as efficient as possible. They drop off and pull the dumpster throughout the event on Friday and Saturday during regular business hours, so there's no overtime.
Questions for Amy Smith? Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have someone here from the Main Strong Foundation? Have a seat.
Hi, I'm Chase Cody. I'm here on behalf of the Main Strong Foundation, our Memorial Foundation, and our ask is the same as last year: additional field maintenance and upkeep, painting lines, checking the fences, posting the road on the inside for no parking, and happy to answer any questions that any of you might have.
I'm sorry, did you say your name was Chase?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Chase? I guess we're good.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Gather to Grow, is that Sherry? Director Blumenthal, maybe?
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. Just to clarify, I'm actually here for the Lewiston Farmers Market Association. We put Gather to Grow just because the association is only a state nonprofit and not a 501c3.
Oh, I see that here. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
Yeah. So that is the hat I'm wearing tonight. I'm the treasurer on the board, and we our in-kind request is to help finish a project we started last year with Public Works to continue to improve the market space. We're at 75 Lincoln and 2 Oxford. We made some substantial improvements last year, thanks in large part to LPW, where we removed boulders, we added signs, we added trees and garden beds, and to create a more continuous space with Lincoln Street and just a more beautiful and accessible space. And so now we want to carry that over into 2 Oxford and to try to both green and improve both accessibility of what is more or less a gravel parking lot. So it won't be the whole area, it'll be a part of the area to provide a continuous market from the Lincoln and the Oxford Street.
Questions, comments from councilors? Yes, Councilor Nagy.
Just really quickly, can you speak to how many markets are held a year?
Sure. We do around 31 markets a year. We see we have like 11 and 13, between 11 and 13,000 visits. We operate May through November, and we support on average 20 to 22 regular vendors.
Thank you.
A lot of turnips get sold. Councilor Chittum, did you have anything? Yeah, okay. I think we're good. Thank you so much. And then who do we got here from McMahon? Okay, we're good. Director Roy, have I missed anything? Okay. I think we're doing rec. Yes. Director Welsh is here.
So we'll start with recreation on page 58. The overall increase of $167,772. Recreation administration is on page 58. Overall increase is $48,297. The increase in personal services of $18,512 due to salaries and the steps and COLAs. There's 5 employees in that department. Contracted services increased $18,015. This is mostly due in repairs to vehicle of $19,350. This is for Public Works rental of a 14-passenger bus, which is new. Supplies increased $11,700. Office supplies $10,900 for fold-in chairs and tables for rentals and for the large city events. Armory is on page 58. Overall increase of $119,566. Personal services increased $34,643. This is mostly due to, in temporary wages, is the transfer in for the aquatic of $62,000. Contracted services increased $85,523. This is mostly due to repairs to buildings of $67,080. This is for roof repairs of $15,000, general painting of $10,000, the yearly gym maintenance for the floor of $8,500, and replacing the failed heating control valve of $36,000. Senior citizens is on page 58. The overall decrease of $91 is due to the age-friendly reimbursement for the part-time employee in that department. Any questions for Director Welch on any of those before we move to recreation programs?
Councilor Chittum.
Thank you, Director Welch. Thank you very much. Can you talk about the failed heating control valves? Are those part of the new improvements, or?
They're to remedy previous problems. I believe Louis Turcotte's here to speak on those.
Yeah, over the years, the control valves on the old radiators have failed or been vandalized, and we've lost control of the heating, the temperature control of the heating system. We did do an interim fix on that. We basically have one thermostat controlling the heat for the whole building, which is, believe it or not, working out fairly well right at the moment, but it's not ideal. So by replacing these valves, we would gain better control, the way the system was intended to work. So it's not part of the new system, which right now appears to be a couple of years away.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we'll go over recreation programs on page 59 to 63. When you got to your seats tonight, there are new sheets, correct. So those of you who want to replace in your books, there's some line items corrected. So overall increase of $21,684. Again, note this is a special revenue account, so it's no impact on the tax rate. Positive amounts in the recommended column equate to the program being self-supported and able to support START programs and aquatics. Fund balance at the end of fiscal year 25 was $331,795. I won't touch on every program. I'll let you ask Director Welch on certain ones, but general had an overall deficit of $44,091. This is due to salaries, even though you see salaries decrease in $3,531. This is projected for the new community sports aid. So the salary line total is $42,291. Day camp had an overall surplus of $8,862. This is due to an increase in projected revenues of $16,122 based upon anticipated demand of 115 summer camp registrations. Volleyball had an overall surplus of $9,709. Even though you see a decrease in revenues, they still have a surplus. Revenues are projected to decrease $5,160. Track overall surplus of $435. Revenues are increasing $500. This is due to the increase in the spring and summer track registration fees. Tennis has an overall surplus of $802. This is the revenue decrease in $590 for the decrease in participations, with a slight increase for fees from $95 to $99. Soccer, overall surplus of $28,883. The revenues are increasing $20,650 due to the increase in adult teams from 20 to 38, bringing in $14,400, and summer camp registration fees of $6,250. Lego Robotics, overall 278 increase. Revenues increased $1,650 for Minds in Motion program for 20 registrations. Lacrosse has an overall surplus of $1,311. Revenues are increasing by $1,200 for summer lacrosse programs. Field hockey, overall surplus of $1,750. Revenues increasing by $1,000. Youth basketball, overall surplus of $6,759. You'll see a decrease in the revenues of $1,675, but this will still be covered and have a surplus. Softball and baseball, overall surplus of $821. Revenues for basketball decreased by $290 for reduction in registrations with a slight decrease in cost, while men's softball is increasing $1,300 due to the fall wooden bat league. Cheering, overall surplus of $1,627. Theater, overall surplus of $1,875. Revenues are increasing $3,750 due to registrations remaining flat with the cost of increase from 200 to 250. Age-friendly, overall surplus of $2,700. Revenues are increasing $5,600 for general programs, $2,300, and then chair yoga, which is new, $3,300. Table tennis, overall $900 surplus. Aquatics, overall deficiency of $8,645. The donation that we saw earlier in the rec, the general fund rec department at the beginning, is entered into here for revenue of $62,000, which is a $10,000 increase from last year. Pickleball, overall surplus of $6,507. The sport, of course, has become most popular. Revenues increasing $3,190 for an increase in the drop-in fees. Childcare, overall surplus of $196. Revenues increased by $3,000 for Teen Adventure Day. Youth cross-country, overall surplus of $205. Revenues are decreasing $90 for registration fees, and recreational supplies remain flat. Football, overall surplus of $200. Roller skating, overall surplus of $800 with revenues remaining flat. Recreational supplies remaining flat. Programs, overall surplus of $7,700. This is a new program in fiscal year '27. Revenues are projected to be $9,800 in table fees, $6,000 in concession sales, $2,000, and raffles $1,800. Family programs, overall surplus of $100. This is a new program in fiscal year '27. Revenues are projected to be $750, and recreational supplies are projected to be $650,000. Any questions for Director?
Yes, can you, in the brief amount of time that we have, can you just tell us what Lego Robotics is? I realize it sounds mostly self-explanatory, but...
Yes, we, a couple of years ago, we had some grant money from the NRPA mentorship program. Through that program, we were able to purchase, I believe we have either 5 or 6 iPads. We have the wires, the gears, the bots, and the actual Legos. So during this program, kids actually get to create robots, and they get to test them and drive them, and it's really a good part of like a introductory STEM program.
You know, I realize that the kids come first here, but I should have been called immediately.
Yeah, I'll text you next time.
Councilor Chittum.
Thank you. Director Welch, programs is a new program. Can you talk about what programs is?
So looking at that, I think the word craft fair was supposed to be in front of that. So I know Director Roy mentioned it a couple minutes ago. So we had a couple of larger accounts that were under those general miscellaneous accounts. We tried to break some of those out, and part of that is making the Artisan and Craft Show its own program to better show the incomes and expenses for the event.
Okay, thank you. Final question, what's the tuition to day camp this year?
Early bird is $1,095. After April 17th, it is $1,195. And we have launched our 2-month Be a Summer Camp Champ sponsorship scholarship program, where we're currently taking donations.
Is that a significant increase over last year and the year before?
It's only 100. We held hard at 900 until I believe it was either 1 or 2 years ago. But with the minimum wage increases and the general cost of transportation and field trips, we unfortunately had to go up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Councilor Roy, did you have something?
Thank you. I think I answered my question, but age-friendly. I see chair yoga. What else is there for like trip expenses and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So this is a relatively new program. It started 3 years ago, and our age-friendly program coordinator, Stephanie Cody, oversees that. It's a 30-hour-per-week position. Part of her responsibilities include being administrative help to the Lewiston senior citizens, but Stephanie also has hours to create new programs that aren't covered under the Lewiston senior citizens. For example, we have chair yoga. She's also started a walk-in program. Most recently, she started a cabin fever program where she has found donors from around the city who have paid for lunches and activities. So every Tuesday since the start of the year, she's had free lunch opportunities for local senior citizens. We had our 14-passenger bus in February, and they did a mystery lunch trip to Brunswick. I believe it's called Wild Oats. So folks jump on the bus for $3. They know they get to go have some yummy food with some good company, and they arrive at the destination, and surprise, they get to find out where they're having for lunch. So there's a pretty good range of activities going on right now.
Thank you. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Councilor Harriman?
Thank you for presenting, and I know you do a lot over there. There's more here than I even realized. So a question about the fund. So it's a special revenue fund. It's separate from the general fund. With all these programs, do they sort of all complement each other financially? Like if you're running a deficit with one and a surplus in another, do they kind of all support each other?
Yes. So in the way we kind of develop like prices for programs, we have to look at what are the base costs. Do we need temporary staff? Do we need to buy new supplies? So we look at what those needs are, and then we also look at what is the going rate for an adult program, what is the going rate for a drop-in pickleball program. So a lot of variables kind of take into place. We always have a non-resident fee, so depending on the program, if it's $10 or like $1,195, that expense will go up and down. I believe since I've been here, the special revenue fund, it's gone up maybe 10 to 15,000 over the last, I want to say 2 or 3 years. I do have ideas in the future on ways to use that money, either in the building or for other city programs. Since we are now covering the salary of a full-time employee, having that reserve is very important because we want to make sure that we can pay that employee for now. So, yeah, I hope that answers some of the question.
Yes,
Great.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Najin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, Director, that I'm exceedingly impressed with what you're bringing to the table. I greatly appreciate the programming that you're offering, the fact that you manage, your department manages so many summer youth jobs, all of these pieces that I think are really impactful for the city, and it's a pleasure that a lot of these programs are actually not running in the red, so that's fantastic too. And yeah, I just wanted to comment that I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. Our squad is so hardworking, they're so creative, and they really put the passion into their jobs every single day. I'm really lucky to have such a strong team.
Councilor Martell, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Najin stole my thunder a little bit because I wanted to say some of those same things. We got to meet when I was at the LSAC meeting a month or so ago and get the tour light. I look forward to returning and getting the rest of it, but hearing the place bustling with young children in the basketball court and the turnout that I saw there was very impressive. And then across the hall, we were having our Lewiston seniors meeting, so I know the things that are going on, the services that are being provided on that end too. So just commendation on a great job, and thank you very much.
Councilor Longchamps.
Good evening. Thank you for the presentation and for all that you do for our city. The question I have is about the day camp. I do believe you guys have scholarships for families that may not be able to afford, correct? Do you know about how many scholarships you give out?
Yeah. So last year, the number, we gave out $8,610, and that was in scholarships in all of 2025. Our scholarship fund right now, it's funded strictly by private donors, and we have $1,000 that we take from that special revenue account that we can slide in there as well. It's a first come, first serve. This year, we've had more requests than we have the past 2 years since the fund was created. And we probably have about $4,000 left to give out over the next couple of months for summer camp scholarships. But it's definitely a resource that would be used more if it was funded a little more heavily.
So that's basically given by private donors, correct? Yeah. So I would encourage people out there that might and hopefully are listening to sponsor a child that would benefit from this day camp. I know there's people out there with deep pockets, to be completely honest, and so I would encourage you to sponsor a child or two. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to add that, as mentioned, we are doing a 2-month Be a Summer Camp Champ. It's basically a fun drive. And if you go to lewistonrecreation.com, it's the second graphic down on the page that can give you all the ways that you can donate.
You should hit up the pickleball players.
They're there more than the kids are.
Anything else? Thank you, Director Welsh. We appreciate your service to our great city.
Thank you so much.
Director Roy, am I to understand that concludes our presentation portion of the budget process?
Correct. So there is no budget meeting scheduled for this Thursday. Next Tuesday, the school board will be in front of you for budget workshop before your meeting. And then there are other days set aside for general discussion. If need be, we have April 9th, April 14th, April 16th, and April 21st. The public hearing, there is a public hearing on Tuesday night, the first one, and then there's the last public hearing on May 5th.
Okay, thank you. Can you, what was I going to say? Oh, yes, can you recap, based on what we know right now, where's the city tax rate?
So it's currently at 1968. Looking at other items, as we're going, we will be removing $106,666 for the homeless shelter that's going to be covered under the TIF. The health coordinator, $102,792 will be removed. The county, $1,044 will be removed. And then the removal of the parking garage security of $80,000 due to not being needed. So it will be removing $290,502.66 from the expense accounts. If you give me a minute, I can pull up the tax sheet.
And then if you could also give us what the percentage increase is over last year.
So the city operating budget was 7.1% as presented. With that 290,000 of drop, Tracy can maybe give you the number.
Thank you, Administrator Kane-Rath. While we're waiting, yes, Councilor Najin.
So when we talk about a hypothetical mill rate for the future, I think it's difficult for people to understand at home when they don't know what their valuations are and also how it compares to what the mill, like, we should be talking, I think, also comparatively, if we're talking about the mill rate now, what it looks like with the increase. So if it's 32.50, okay, if it's $32 now, what is it with the increase? So that people can, picture that in their heads. And one thing that just came to me, unfortunately the special meeting is over, but could I ask to have a breakdown of the amount of the $250,000 that we're loaning that is coming out of the general fund versus the money that we set aside for out of either the TIF fund or the enterprise fund? From what I understand is that $250,000 is coming, a portion of it is coming out of the general fund, and I want to know how much.
That money was set aside last year. Administrator Kane-Rath pulled that out of the budget. I don't know if you recall, the last couple of years, we were giving $250,000 to economic development to run that program. I believe the last time they used that, you folks voted for Democracy Brewing, got a large sum. So that money is not affecting the tax rate that we're using for the Colisée.
Interim Director Blaze had mentioned that a portion of it was coming out of the general fund. I just want to make sure that that's not the case. Or if it is the case.
Director Roy could make sure of that, but that's not happening.
If we can get an email on it, that would be helpful. That's all.
It is coming out of the economic reserve, which is already in there from prior years. So if you remember the night we went over the TIFs on the notes, I had given you like a screenshot of everything that's in that economic reserve. There's about, I believe, $538,000 in just the economic reserve portion. That's where that would be coming out of.
Okay, so it's none of it is coming out of the.
It's not coming out
of. Okay, fine.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Chittum.
Thank you, Councilor Najin. I want to second with emphasis that citing a mill rate of 1968 when people don't know what their valuations are and they won't know for a month or two is a meaningless number. I would very much like to have a comparison based on the current assessed values as of today, not tomorrow, so that we can see what our tax rate would be doing based on the budget as it stands today. Thank you.
So with the removal of the items that I mentioned, it would come down to 1962. And then we did do a calculation. Let me just update the numbers to 1962. So the assessor went through, and these are just estimates, of course. So if your home was valued at $100,000.
Councilor Chittum, yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to hear this again. I really want to hear what the tax rate would be if there were no revaluation. I understand all the hypotheticals. I would like to know, on a mill rate basis, how much the tax is increasing based on the current budget.
So if we take and put the valuation back to what it was last year, remove the 4.4 billion that's estimated, your tax rate would be $37.29.
Thank you very much.
So that would be an increase of $4.50.
And then, thank you, Director Roy. Thank you, Councilor Chittum. So we, as mentioned by Administrator Kane-Rath, we were at 7.1%. What are we at now over last year, given the calculations that you just made?
6.6 for the city's operating.
6.6, okay. Councilor Herman, did you have your hand up a second ago?
Yeah, I was just going to add sort of to this conversation about the mill rate and the revaluation. On the school committee side, it's making it a little difficult, and I know we're sort of in the same situation here. Without knowing what people's valuations are going to be, it's hard to communicate how much the school budget is going to affect that. I think we're going to be receiving some communication from the school committee about this. I realize it's maybe not something that we can really help, just given the timing of things, but it does make it gives us less information to work with as far as what different pieces of the budget what effect they will have on the tax rate and on people's tax bills. So it's just it's a difficult situation to be in without having all that information in front of us like we usually do.
Correct, and as I said, we do have estimates. We took 3 values of what they are currently and what they would be valued at for fiscal year '27 and their increase. So if you look at a home that's $100,000 right now, has a homestead of $11,750, because of course we are not fully at the valuation with the state, so they don't give the full exemption. That person's net taxable value is $88,250 for valuation, times our current rate. Their bill currently this year is $2,892.84. In their new valuation, their valuation would be $227,300. They would have the full homestead exemption of 25. So their net taxable valuation would be $202,300. So with the current tax rate of $1,962, their taxes would be $3,969, which would be an increase of $1,076 annual. So a home that's currently $150,000 with the homestead $11,750, their taxable valuation is $138,250 currently. Their current bill is $4,531. Their new valuation in '27 is estimated to be $348,800. With the full $25,000 homestead exemption, will be $323,800 for a taxable rate, making their current taxes for fiscal year '27 $6,352.96, which is an increase of $1,821.12 on their tax bill for a year. If you have a home that's valued at $250,000, homestead $11,750, their net taxable was $238,250, so their current taxes are $7,809.84. Their valuation for fiscal year '27 is estimated to be $581,400, with a homestead of $25,000, making their taxable valuation $556,400, making their tax bill $10,916.57. That's an increase of $3,106.73 for the year.
Thank you, Director. Councilor Harriman, did you have something else?
Yes, just real quickly, and I realize this might be more of a question for assessing. Do those estimates translate fairly evenly across residential properties? Like, not every home is the same. There's
Correct.
single families, multi-units. That translates
Correct.
pretty
That would
much
be a
evenly.
question for the assessor, and we can
Okay.
ask them that. But we were looking at, okay, give us 3 examples, a small, a medium, and a large, so that we could get some kind of estimate out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor, Administrator Kinroth, did you have something?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, if it is easier as far as, consideration and deliberation for the council, I think we can talk about using the existing mill rate and existing valuation. I think we're hearing that kind of across the council. So just number one, message heard on that. We'll talk about that. And 2, I just want to say also, we are looking at options for implementation of the reval. Obviously, these are some big numbers that we're hearing. So we're going to be coming back at the appropriate time with just some options to maybe consider with implementation. We don't have all the answers yet, but just know that we're working on that also.
Thank you. Councilor Roy, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe Administrator Keenrath just kind of answered it. I was just going to say, I don't understand why. I mean, we've gone how many years now without an increase? And why all of a sudden we're going 100% full bore instead of doing like a third of it, a third of it, a third of it, just to ease people in, because we've got some real problems here. we've got a lot of money that people are gonna be paying, and I don't see how we can sustain this. I mean, it's not gonna be sustainable for a whole lot of people, and we need some relief in this. So thank you for looking into that, and hopefully we get some good answers soon.
Yes, we await information from our assessor and administration. Councilor Longchamps, did you have something?
Yes. Yeah, it just seems like it's doubling, right? Something that was worth 100,000 is now even more, 250,000. That's a lot. It's much needed, I understand that, but it's a lot to ask for from the taxpayers. And I want to thank you for looking into that. Councilor Najin and I were speaking today in regards to this, and I think if there's some way we could do it over 2 years or 3 years, or I don't know exactly how that would look, but I think it's critical for our families, given where we live. So, thank you.
Councilor Najin, did you have something?
Yeah, so I just want to say really quickly, whether or not Brunswick rolled out a reeval that they paused because of the impacts. Whether or not we either don't put the reeval in place for the following year or we stage it in pieces. There are people who live in my community, who live in our community, that are living on fixed incomes. And when we announce valuations that people don't even actually know their valuation yet, but when they do get that bill in May, they're going to be expected to pay it in September. And I've got folks in my neighborhood who I've got a family that has a water heater that's broken, and they've been boiling water because they don't have the extra money to buy a water heater. So like what I'm saying is that the offset cost can put people in a really bad spot. We need to think about how we do this in a way that doesn't put people out of their homes. I understand that their valuations are higher. I understand that these homes are worth more, but also a lot of folks can't tap into that equity, especially if you're retired. You're not going to be like, what method do you use in order to tap into the equity of your home when all you have coming in is Social Security? And so we just need to think about how we roll that out. And I'd also like to say that we pretty soon should start talking about some cuts as well.
Thank
Just
you.
to respond quickly.
Well, 1 second, Administrator Kainrath. Council, I just want to hear from the rest of the council really quick. And knowing or acknowledging that the council, that we've also heard concerns from residents, and administration will be looking into that. But yes, Councilor Martel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I recognize that this is going to be difficult, and it feels like it's coming in one fell swoop, but I'm going to be universally against rolling this out in pieces. I've known about this for years, just from watching city council meetings. The over-the-top spending, bloating, funding programs, cuts have to get made. This kind of circles back to a point I would have liked to make during nonprofit presentations was we're looking at cutting, or at least I will be, staffed positions, services within the city. And I think if those are things that we're going to consider, and we also need to maybe consider as a city just saying we can't fund nonprofit missions. Like, we understand that these are things that people are passionate about, and I don't want to sit up here and parse one's value to the community more than the other. I think that charitable giving is supposed to be voluntary and taxation is compelled. A good place to start before we start cutting staff positions or services to taxpayers would be to start to cut off some of this spending. And I think just a blanket line in the sand saying the city is not going to fund charitable foundations or donate to nonprofits, I think would be a good place to start that. There is a way around this evaluation, is to really tighten our budget. This spending and the COVID money that was falling from the sky and the positions that were created, the money isn't here, and we got used to spending money that we didn't have, and drastic cuts is how we can also lessen the blow to our community and our taxpayers. I understand that is going to get ugly in some places, but rolling this out slowly when we're already years and years past state mandates for reevals is just continuing to kick the can down the road, and I feel like it's just going to enable continued spending and justification of continued spending, when I think the real answer needs to be to tighten our belts and make some difficult cuts and start living and spending as a city like a normal budget does at home. My colleague mentioned a resident that couldn't afford a water heater right now, so they're not going out and buying a water heater. That's unfortunate, but if we don't have the money to do things, we shouldn't be doing them, and we've been doing it for far too long. So I think that the better way, the more fiscally responsible way, the way that a family home budget would do it is you've got to find a difference between wants and needs. And I know that line gets blurry sometimes, but we're going to have to make some of those tough decisions. There is a way to alleviate some of this increase, and that's by getting our spending in line. And I stand by that. And as difficult as this may be, it's time for this reeval to happen. And we can't blame all of the impact on the reevaluation. The spending has been happening for years, if not decades, over administrations from both sides of the aisle, and this is a problem that's been brewing. No one on this dais is directly responsible, but if we wanted to roll this out in parts, this should have been something we looked at a couple years ago when we knew this was coming, not a last-second bail to save our spending, and I just can't see it any other way.
Thank you, Councilor Martel. Councilor Chinham, did you have something, or did? Oh, okay. Councilor Longchamps, final thoughts from you?
Yes. I do agree with some of what Councilor Martel has shared. I do think in some areas we definitely have overspent, but it is not the homeowners' fault that we did not do this 2 or 3 years ago. So there are a lot of people here that are on fixed incomes, and I'm really talking about our elderly people that will not be able to afford this in one shot that I could imagine. It's tough enough to live on the budget that they're living on. So although I do agree with some of the statements that he has shared, I do think we do need to make some tough cuts. I think it has to be done. And I do think the nonprofits, I do agree with some of that. But again, these homeowners and taxpayers did not ask for this. They didn't say, hey, put a pause on it or don't do it for X amount of years. So we're going to literally drive people out of their homes because they're not going to be able to afford it.
I think, Councilor Roy, did you have a final thought here?
I'll try to be quick with this one. This budget that we have in front of us that is up, we'll say like 5.29 or 6.1 or whatever it is.
6.6.
Okay. So at this point, is that only an increase in steps, COLAs, medical prices, all that stuff? There's nothing else in here, like, that's it?
I would say pretty much. Tracy, you can add your 2 cents, obviously. Our goal was to get this down as lean as possible without impacting current staff in positions. And that's largely what we have here. I think there are a couple small areas for additional savings with some initiatives this year, for example, the take-home cruisers proposal. But everything else beyond this point, we're going to start cutting at current people in positions.
And I would also, sorry, Director Roy, you first, then I'll say something. Or did you have anything else to add to that?
Nope, just the take-home vehicles are the only thing that's left on the sheet that we had when we were looking at the cuts.
And remind me what we're looking at for an increase, please. Just a kind of like a rough number.
Percentage?
Yeah.
For the operating at 6.6.
Well, just for those vehicles, like what are we looking at? If we took that out, we would go from 6.6 to what? 6.3? 6.
So there is the amount of 490 $490,948. However, you need to decide whether you're going to put any vehicles back in. You don't have to put the full 14 in, but I would say take a look at the list that the chief sent you today, and because all the other items within that amount that if the take-home vehicles don't pass are already in the budget, except for the vehicles and the other, the radios. The two last numbers at the bottom, those are not in the budget. All the other numbers are already in the budget, so your budget wouldn't increase that 930, I think that was sent out, 903,908. It would just be for the vehicles and the radios and cameras, and that's on a decision on the council, whether they want to put the full amount of vehicles back of 14, or if you want to take a look at what she gave you for a list and then add that back in, or you could not add it back in. It's all up to city council, what you want to do with your budget.
All right, so if we just said, take that out and we're not going to add anything, you'd probably see maybe a decrease in maybe point. I'm just asking, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, councilors, sorry, Councilor Roy, are you finished?
Yeah, that's all I want.
Okay,
to
so
see how much it would go down.
Right.
Thank you. Councilors, if I may, so we're waiting to hear back from the assessor and administration about possible ideas for implementation of the reval. I think once we hear that back, then we can have a discussion about where we want to go with this budget, if we are looking at further cuts, and so on and so forth. But at this point, I would say we call it a night. Councilor Najin, did you have a final thought?
I did. So just to speak concerning the water heater analogy, the city can't be the broken water heater. The broken water heater is a situation where you didn't budget for it, and now it's an unexpected cost. And so ultimately, when we're talking about the periods in which we need to, right now you couldn't apply for a homestead exemption if you haven't already. Right now you couldn't apply for the Tax Credit Fairness Act if you haven't already. So these are serious things. And then when we also talk about community organizations as opposed to nonprofits, Seniors Plus is a community organization. Seniors Plus could work with us in order to get the messaging out to seniors concerning what's going to happen with their tax rates. Ultimately, what we're going to see, no matter what, is a reduction in services with an increase in costs. That's what's going to happen. And so the question is, how impactful is that going to be as we go through? But I just wanted to name those things. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. But at the end of the day, like, the cat is the taxpayer right now.
Okay, on that note, thank you.
I was just going to move to adjourn.
We're in a workshop, so we don't need to move to adjourn. Although, did we need, Councilor Martelli, you bring up an interesting point. Did we need to move to adjourn the special meeting that we had?
No, you essentially did once you started the workshop.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
We'll look
thank
at that. We're incredibly efficient this evening. Councilors, I appreciate you all. Staff, thank you very much. We will see everyone back here. Yeah, not on for this Thursday, but we'll be back next Tuesday.
And Thursday.
And Thursday, yes. Yeah, we'll be here a lot. Just look on the city's website. Thank you. Good night, Lewiston.